Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. Hollywood After Dark. Today, of course, is the 18th of December, 2021. It's Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do you know where your chuds are? Tonight, we're going to be talking all about these self-proclaimed culture warriors, men of a certain age, crying about women in entertainment, all while thinking themselves the saviors of the white race. All that and more here tonight, Hollywood After Dark. Let's fucking go. Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Oops, let me get this off the screen. Of course, I always like to have my problems as I go live. You guys know me, right? Last night, there was a glitch in the StreamYard system. I need to get back and fix that particular thing. However, tonight is a night I was thinking about this. I was like, I'll go live, but there's not too much to talk about. Obviously, it's kind of I don't want to say a slow weekend. It's kind of a big weekend. Spider-Man No Way Home is looking at pulling in somewhere in the neighborhood of about $240 million just domestically. This movie is absolutely blowing up. It is on everyone's mind. I know I've spent multiple hours talking about it across multiple live streams. And it's a movie that I really enjoy. It's a movie that I can't wait to watch again. And what cracks me up about this movie is not how the chuds are responding to it, because they're kind of like claiming it a win. They're claiming it a victory. And we're going to take a look at that with Nerdrotic's video. But what we're also seeing is a bunch of the blue checkmark Twitter reviewers, right? The movie reviewers on social media that are out there kind of like not understanding why people are choosing to come out to this movie in droves when something like, let's say, I don't know, Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's latest movie, his first film since he won for what was it called? It won Best Picture. The monster movie. I forget what it was called. I at this point I just blank on it. But first movie in a couple years. And they, they're like, why are people seeing Spider-Man? Like, well, nostalgia is a thing. It's a good movie. It's a well-regarded movie. People out there are liking it. And you cannot deny the popularity of the brand. You cannot deny the popularity of Marvel. You cannot deny the popularity of the superhero genre. This shit ain't slowing down. It's only ramping up as we go further into this new decade. Obviously, Marvel knows what they are doing, and they know how to get butts in seats even during the surge of the Omicron variant of COVID. And even the Omicron variant isn't as strong as Delta, which is good. Thankfully, it is starting to see a bit of I think the variants are not as efficable as the original, which is good. Hopefully more people out there will get vaxxed and get their booster to make sure they can make it through this holiday season unscathed. That is my hope for you all out there. Well, it doesn't matter what your religion, what your belief system is, what your political affiliation is. I want you vaxxed and relaxed to the max. I want you in theaters. I want you watching movies, and I want you to do it because you love it, because you love being there, and not because you're fucking angry at the world around you. The Shape of Water is what it was called. Thank you guys for telling me. I don't know why I blanked on that. I knew it was water. In my mind, I'm like, it's water. I know it. It's a thing. And of course, I blanked. You guys are there to absolutely make it work here. Now, Darth Scipio asks a question. Well, now, is No Way Home a Sony or Marvel film? It's both, but in reality, it is a Marvel Studios production, which means that it's part of the MCU. That is how they made it work. Sony foot the bill for the movie. Sony is, no, I think Marvel also coughed up part of the budget, because that is how they made the deal work, where Marvel is now getting 25% of the box office gross, whereas before, for Homecoming and Far From Home, they only were pulling in 5% of first day gross. Now, what that means for the first day dollar is your Thursday night preview screenings and your Friday. So they're getting 25% of the whole shebang here. They're getting everything on this front, whereas before it was only what they would have pulled in on day one, which is generally when the movie is its most busiest. But now they've got a full financial stake in this thing, and they're going to be pulling in a lot of money. Degrassi here says it's a Marvel film distributed by Sony. That is very true. Sony will try to argue that they had some say in the movie. I think this is one where they had less say. if you want my honest opinion. I think Avi Arad kind of got like borked out of it. And that to me is always something that is great. So on the docket for tonight, we're going to be looking at 3 individual videos, and they're all fascinating because they're just so woefully weird. And it goes to show you the mindset of the people that are on the other side, those that are trying to argue that Marvel is woke, that no one cares, that it's the MCU, that it's all gone, it's all terrible. And what we're going to see tonight is what I like to refer to. It's not what I like to refer to, sorry. It's what is referred to as the horseshoe theory. If you look here on the screen, you can see that in the middle, you have the center. And then you have the left, you have the right, you have the far left, and you have the far right. And what we're going to see here is that the people of which Gary and Jeremy and Razor Fist and the Quartering and Ethan Van Sciver and all the little cucks and girls from that particular camp, they're all far right. They're all far right, and they all invoke the same talking points and the same tactics that the far left uses, because guess what, folks? They're the fucking same. Anti-social justice warriors is a good name for them, but it's very, very, very true. It is very, very true that they are the exact same people. And now, in some instances, they're effectively calling themselves culture warriors. No longer are they just fighting the fight for culture war. No longer are they just trying to do something for, voicing their opinion is what they like to argue. No, now they've associating themselves with the moniker. The moniker that is, we are culture warriors, amped up type A men types, the kind that would want to go and sit on a throne of skulls made of Lucasfilm employees, that kind of weird, delusional, deranged mindset. I have said for a while now that I'm under the belief structure that eventually somebody will take the shit that they're saying, the shit that they absolutely do not believe that they say, and that they will run out there and they will act as a result of this, that somebody will maybe target Kathleen Kennedy. That is a legitimate fear that I have. I'm not saying that they're going to do this. I'm merely saying that based upon what happened nearly 4 years ago, where a woman from San Diego, disillusioned with YouTube's new monetization practices, decided to drive from San Diego to the YouTube headquarters in Marin County, Florida, and open fire on 3 people before killing herself because she was not happy with the change in the YouTube monetization policies. And guess what? After that incident took place, they caught another guy who was actually driving from Michigan to California in order to almost basically do the same thing. So if you're going to tell me that these people don't have influence over a wide variety of mentally deranged morons, then you're wrong. And I'm saying this not to be mean to those people. I know I probably shouldn't have said mentally deranged morons, but I just keep thinking back to January 6th and the insurrection, and that it was probably full of Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and Razorfist and the Quartering and Tim Pool and Ethan Van Sciver fans, especially maybe a couple Doomcock nutties in there. You know that this is exactly the type of audience that they want, the type of hyper-partisan, hyper-energized, angry men who believe that women and minorities are the problem. Make no mistake, when you call something the MCU, unironically, when you brand an entire cinematic universe, something along those lines, you are doing it specifically when you are creating something that you can brand and potentially put on t-shirts and you could potentially sell to your audience as maybe an NFT. You are doing it with good reason. You are doing it because you can profit off of division and bigotry and hatred and sexism and misogyny. This is not even up for debate at this point, guys. We know for a goddamn fact that this is a reality of where these things are. Dalton Elliott here says Geeks and Gamers is the worst grifter I've ever seen. He's not the worst, but he's definitely consistent. Darskipio said, Doomcock was the first nutjob who said, we are fighting for the future of our culture, hence the culture warriors. He's not the first one who said that, but he has said that. He has definitely said that. North Star Kinshiro here says, Marvel has always been woke. Writers put their politics in comics when kids in the 80s and 90s are reading them. 150% there. And then he also says here, but Gary owned a comic book shop. He's a real fan. Gary might have been a real fan. Maybe something rotted his brain. Maybe something that he shouldn't have been taking rotted his brain. I don't know. Was it anger and hatred? Maybe it was a dusted fine white powder. Who knows? I don't know. Let's see here. Lukov says, those are the terrible people who will basically say anything for money. I used to watch Tim Pool fairly religiously. I know that the only thing he cares about is making money. He worships money. Hey, Lukov, would it surprise you that the last time I spoke with Tim Pool, we were at a house party in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in September 2018 for MythCon. And Tim Pool explained to me point blank how he games the YouTube algorithm in order to make more money. That probably wouldn't surprise you, would it? But he did. I've also been on his podcast before back in the early part of 2018, back when he was far more nuanced. And then now, of course, he worships money. All these guys ultimately worship money because that is their God at this point. Their God is money. It's not the culture war. They use it as a tactic. They use it as a shield, as a deflection, and even a blanket in many instances to try to cozy up to their audience of people who probably don't know any better, who maybe feel disillusioned by the state of affairs in the modern world, who feel like they just are left out in the cold because automation and manufacturing has left part of this country in, I don't know, Republican-led states with Republican-led senators that don't do anything to actually benefit the people who work and live in those communities, and that they've been left behind by a society that hasn't given them the time of day in many years, but they put it all on the federal government and the woke left instead of the actual governing bodies that are inside their state that could actually benefit them a little bit. I'm not trying to wax too political here, guys, but there's definitely a correlation with right-wing ideology and a lack of education. And that lack of education also comes from the fact of lack of money due to the fact that jobs have left these particular areas. And so when there's no jobs, there's not a lot of money, and the government doesn't put a lot of money in there for the education policies. And, it's a sad state of affairs, folks, but that is exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Luke, if you're also saying, not surprised in the slightest, Tim Pool's brother has spoken a bit about how he and Tim would use 4chan bots and other means to boost his channel. Then his brother fed him some money to shut him up. Oh yeah, I know Reactor. I've gotten drunk. I've hung out with Reactor at some house parties at VidCon. I've known Reactor for a while. I think Reactor's a decent guy. Tony here saying nothing would make Tim Pool more wet than a second Civil War. 100%, 100%, buddy, 100%. Did I see Tim Pool almost get his clock punched out by R.A. the Rugged Man? I did. Yeah, I did see that on Twitter, and I watched a couple of videos about that today. I was laughing my ass off at it. Because Tim Pool, dude, trust me, he's like 70 pounds soaking wet. The guy's tiny. He's tiny, and he always wears a beanie. The funniest, I have an image, I got to find it. I took it VidCon 2017. We were at a house party, and Tim Pool was playing pool by himself. So I was like, oh, it's Tim Pool playing pool, and he was like 5 feet away from another pool. It was kind of poolception. There. But it is, again, yeah, Tim Pool is the same kind of grifter. He'll play whatever game is there. If you watch him when he's fighting against, R.A. the Rugged Man, and he's like, I want to abolish the police. And he says it so matter of fact that you can tell he says it in fear. He's like, no. I actually care. I actually want to abolish the police, you guys. I want to abolish the police. We all know that's a load of shit, right? It's always that. But anyway, I thought we would, I did send the link out to some friends. Anna Underhaven might come back. They were not feeling very well, but we'll see if anyone else pops up. But in the meantime, they absolutely, we're going to laugh at some really terrible fucking takes. Let me just, share my screen here. So what would be, great is to take a quick look here at, all right, I'm trying to find there we go. So I want to quickly start off first by diving into the Nerdrotic video. Mad Max the Mandalorian played this earlier on his stream, which is what brought it to my attention. Otherwise, I don't watch Gary if I can help it. I like to maintain brain cells. But here he's actually going off about woke Marvel exposed by Spider-Man No Way Home destroys Disney's box office narrative. I mean, I mean, come on, right? Anyone who pays attention knows this is bullshit. Ben Bamboo here saying, yes, Matt, and factually, red states depend more on government subsidies than blue states, period. And blue states subsidize the red. Oh, 100%. I live in a very, very, very blue state. And I know that my tax dollars go to help out people on welfare in red states. And guess what? I'm okay with that. I don't have an issue with that because I understand that the system is designed to help out people who are in need. And that, of course, is the right-wing grift, is not to help anyone in need, but to create a victim mentality, a victim narrative, and then to run from there. So before I forget tonight, I don't want to forget this. We're going to start this here.
CHUD Watch.
There we go. I had to hit the CHUD Watch. I hadn't done the logo in a couple days. Thank you to Dane from Force Adversity for putting that one together. H-Bart's here asking the question, how long before these channels die off? Well, I can give you an answer that I have no control over, right? I have no control over. And that could be one of those things where, like you may not like it. Or you may like it, I don't know. But the reality of it is this. Those channels will die off when YouTube effectively pulls the plug. That's the reality of it. At this point, I believe that these guys know that they are heading towards that cliff. And that they are heading towards the point where everything is going to start falling off for them. Where they are going to start losing everything they've built on this platform. There's a reason why Gary wants Friday Night Tights in order to become more of a mainstream thing, why they're trying to get people like Alex Jones on there to reach out to a different audience. They want to mainstream themselves. They want to go quote unquote legit to an extent, but at the same time, they need to maintain that audience of outrage that they have built. And, Jeremy, for example, Jeremy Griggs, he has a secondary channel called D-Day Cobra, where he was heavily pushing the concept, the idea, the fallacy, the fairy tale that the election was stolen. But as soon as that $1 billion lawsuit came out, he seemed to back the fuck off real quick. And never mind YouTube demonetizing content that said election fraud was real or suggested it was real, as well as COVID misinformation. So there's that one. Now, unfortunately, Spherical Man, I believe there are some spoilers in this. If you haven't seen the movie, you might be spoiled. But then again, if I recall, it's nothing too specific. But if you followed any of the online conversation, you know that's the stuff that's there. So I would say maybe maybe back off on that a little bit. Let's see. Degrassi says once Crowder gets tossed, their time will never be more borrowed. Oh no, Crowder is on borrowed time 100%. And again, they want to be deplatformed, because then they can play the victim, because they're going to get a lot of money. But the problem is it's a short-lived thing. Crowder has got his mug club, $100 a year gets you in. So he can live off of that. Never mind, he works for the Blaze, which then puts advertising out there anyway. So that's, he's got the corporate backing. Whereas these guys don't have corporate backing. Once they lose their ability to earn super chats, they fucked, literally. And once they lose super chats, they are going to probably end up losing their Patreon as well, because people are going to start making those emails and making those calls. And like, this is how it goes. Now, I'm not saying I want them destitute and on the street. I'm not saying that at all. When I criticize these guys, my entire point of criticizing them is that they spread disinformation. And I want them to not spread disinformation. And what you're going to hear in this video is very dishonest. Northstar asking, why can't they just do honest reviews like Chris Stuckman or Jeremy Johns? And the reason for that is because, well, that would require integrity. That would require integrity. And then Luke off here talking about Doug Tenapple's channel. He was leaning on election conspiracy stuff really hard, and he got his channel rightfully deleted. I mean, look, man, I think Doug's a bitch, but the guy's crazy. But I like Earthworm Jim. Honestly, I've thought about getting an Amico for Earthworm Jim. There's that, or at least renting one. Anyway, H-Bart's here asking the last question before we begin. How long before Crowder comes out of the closet? He hates gays. You can tell he is himself. Well, I don't know if he's gay. I don't know if he is gay. What I do know is that he definitely likes dressing in women's clothing, and good for him. I just hope that he owns it. I just hope that he owns it. Just own it, man. Your audience won't care if you're a cross-dressing right-wing conspiracy theorist. Why not? So, Laser Luke, it is definitely probably not that. I think the idea here essentially with what Nerdrotic is going to say is more or less that because the movie didn't have any woke marketing, it's doing very well, which is like, what the fuck? But anyway, Ben here saying more closeted gays in the GOP than any other party on the planet. Oh yeah. What about what was it? Falwell? Not Falwell. It was Haggerty, Jerry Haggerty, the leader of the evangelicals. The evangelical party, who was found in a seedy ass motel high on methamphetamines with a gay male prostitute. Rocket, right? Anyway, that's what the world needs, another far right Milo Yiannopoulos. Well, Milo, he's rocking that Christian game right now. And the one time I spoke with Milo, he interviewed me for a podcast he was doing. And it wasn't the crazy over the top persona. It was a nice conversation. Like, that's why I hate the internet sometimes, because people who do go above and beyond on that are just fucking nuts. But all right, let's check this shit out. It's a 16-minute video. I might speed it up a little bit as we go through, just because I really have trouble listening to Gary speak. A person who lies that much really should probably just burst into flames. But you know what? Hey, God isn't real, so we're not that lucky.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What the fuck is this?
Look at little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry?
Nerdrotic.com.
What if I told you that Hollywood
What
was
the
still
fuck?
capable of making a superhero film without any fake woke marketing?
What?
A Marvel film without a single sign of the MCU, filled.
So basically meaning no women and no people of color outside of Zendaya. But, he won't mention that at all. But that's really what it boils down to here. I know we're only a couple seconds in, and, he's talking about woke marketing. Even though there's one element of the movie that I'm pretty sure these guys are going to rail on down the road when they need something. It's like an ace in the hole. It's like something they put in their back pocket that will give them a little bit of mileage, but not right now, because the movie is so well loved. It's doing so well that they were to come out and attack this one specific thing, it would not work out in their favor. That scene was Oliver Twist, and that was obviously Simu Liu as Oliver and Toby from Spider-Man 3. Yeah, this is that's gone. That's his editor. That's full cringe. I don't know why that's here, but hey, we're only 30 seconds in.
With a crap load of fan service, that thing that I like to call giving the customers what they want. What if I told you the actors in this film were talking about the film and not identity politics or regurgitating the latest virtue signal? Well, that day has arrived with...
So, focuses on the deaf woman of color, the hearing impaired woman of color. Like, that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole thing is, that's what he's got. That's what he does. It's all the dog whistle. Everything is the dog whistle, and he'll claim here, oh, it's all a joke. It's all this, it's all that, never mind. He's got the Gina Carano toy right there. He's got a Mahler and Rags plushie in his room full of toys that looks like it probably smells like week old farts and cum. But, and again, all those buzzwords, 100% here by Lord Slug, all those buzzwords he Mike zeros the algorithm in that front.
With Spider-Man No Way Home, leave out all the woke crap, and you get a film that's set to break actual box office records, not manufactured ones. Spider-Man No Way Home completely exposes the failure that is Marvel's fake woke marketing in 2021, and it is glorious. As MCU producer Nate Moore makes excuses for the Eternals, which we'll get to in just a moment, I don't want to bury the lead on this one. Spider-Man No Way Home is the second biggest opening of all time in the era of COVID, mask mandates, vaccine passports, fear porn, rapid tests that cost $300 that are.
I mean, notice again all of the imagery that they're using. They're trying to set the narrative. He just did a karaoke going away party in San Diego the other day at a bar called the Lamplighter, which is funny because when I lived in San Diego, I would go to that bar and sing karaoke with my theater friends. So I find it funny that a bunch of right-wing, alt-right, idiotic trolls were at a bar that is it's in like the Hillcrest area of San Diego, the gay area of San Diego, which again kind of makes me question, why'd you pick that bar, Gary? Did you know pretty well? How about the Brass Rail, Gary? Do you happen to know the Brass Rail? I bet you frequent that place, right? Anyway, again, look at all that there. Mask mandates, papers, please, the fear porn, everything that he's trying to argue is just so cringe because it doesn't really have a place in it, right? He's trying to downplay COVID. They've all tried to downplay COVID. They've all tried to argue all this stuff, and it's not working. So they're just now ramping it up in order to feed into that base of idiots who will literally believe anything that they tell them.
Are a total ripoff. And sure, there are a couple of states that are still free, like Florida and Texas, and I can't wait to get to one of them after seeing the film.
He's going to contract COVID in like the first 6 months of being there. I'm just going to say that, right? But here's the other part of that too. I almost guarantee you, I would be willing to bet money on this, that Gary is probably the kind of guy who wears a mask. He's probably vaxxed up. He wants to leave California, not because of mask mandates, not because of anything else, predominantly because of the taxes. That's why he probably wants to go to Texas or Florida, because the taxes out there are really good for small business. I moved to Washington out of Oregon, even though Oregon's my home state, because there's no income tax here. So it is actually beneficial for me as a business to live in the state. There are benefits to being a business and living in a place like Florida and Texas, specifically Texas. What you have to do in a situation like Gary is really look at the reasons why he's leaving. He'll church it up by saying he's leaving because of the politics or he's leaving because of all this, when in reality, it's a sound business decision. I agree with the fandom Menace L's here. They're probably all vaxxed 100%. Florida, I know, right? Florida's funnier than shit, but that's kind of the whole point. Don't move to Florida. It's too crowded here. Have you tried California, dude, has got, 40 million fucking people. Florida's got not that many. Let's see here. McLeod says, bitch, try selling that it's all becoming like Nazi Germany, anti-vax mask bullshit to actual Holocaust survivors. You slimy fucking chud fuckstick. I just wanted to really highlight that. Slimy fucking chud fuckstick. I love it, buddy. I love it. Thank you for that one, right? That's why Rogan and Ted Nugent moved there. Exactly. Make no mistake. It's not about here's the thing, man. He talks about politics, right? Keep your politics out of my entertainment. But he's going to Texas, where the motto of the state is don't tread on me, essentially, or don't mess with Texas. That's a political fucking statement because they're itching for a reason to fucking try to exit the fucking country. They want to secede from the union, but here's the thing with Texas, man, a bunch of Californians are already fucking moving there to Austin and Houston and Dallas, the major cities, maybe San Antonio, and they're going to also start altering the political demographic. Texas will be blue in the next 10 years. Make no fucking mistake about that. So what he's doing now is he's moving out of California to move to, California Junior. He's not running from the state. He's just trying to better his taxes. That's all I'm saying here. Let's see here. The guy says, you think Rogan doesn't still hold a residence in California? Oh, no. He does, but he'll market it as he won't live there. It won't be full-time living. So yeah. And that is true. Ben here says, Texans literally froze to death because they voted Republican. I'm assuming you said that, but I think that's what you mean. And you're right. Welcome to as climate change ravages Texas with freak winter storms, while your senators flee to Cancun while leaving their precious little dog home alone. The people who are supposed to care about you, the people that are there to protect your greater interest as a freedom-loving American, a patriotic American. Good luck not freezing to death during the next time that happens, because it's absolutely fucking going to. Let's see. John here says, Texas, Flea, Texas. I lived there. I almost moved there a number of years ago. I was heavily invited to move to Dallas. Wouldn't have been too bad there. I mean, Dallas is nice. Fuck Houston though. But anyway, let's keep going.
Which I liked, and I'll review in a couple of days. It was nostalgia bait. It's also a return to pure escapism, although a brief one. But all of the goalpost moving turned out to be just that, bullshit. Just like a lot of us were saying. Spider-Man No Way Home opening day is the second best of all time, swings past $300 million global. Now, before I get started, I would like to thank everyone who has subscribed to this channel and supported me and my family throughout the year. Independent clip, but people were sick to death of woke Hollywood, and if they wanted to get some of that very large number of people they have been alienating over the last 4 years back, they're going to have to work just as hard as they did to alienate them in the first place. For all the Michigas exposition has endured during the pandemic, including streaming threats, day-and-date window crunching, older demos not showing up, local ordinances, and countless release date changes and eliminations, Sony's Spider-Man No Way Home arrives this weekend to save the day. The hope here is that Sony's theatrical window respecting release date not only jolts the worldwide cinema attendance population back into seats as we head into 2022, but also makes moviegoing a habit once again for the masses. No holiday distraction, Los Angeles weekend rainstorm, or alarmist news headlines will prevent people from heading out, especially the box office most reliable 18 to 34 crowd. And of course,
now here's my question to that. Is that, what article is that from? Where is the source on that? Because he says here, no holiday distraction. Motherfucker, what's in a few days? What's in a week? Christmas. Most of the kids are off for 2 weeks. This is considered a holiday time. The holiday is considered like the last 2 weeks of the month when it comes to mass shopping and mass movie going and things along those lines. There is a very strategic reason why movies come out now instead of on fucking Christmas. The argument that is being made here that Spider-Man alone, because of no woke marketing, is going to put butts in seats is the reason, is one of the most asinine and idiotic things I've ever had the unfortunate pleasure of fucking listening to. The displeasure, really. These guys, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. All right. I've worked in the theater industry for a very, very long time. I've watched trends come and trends go, and I've watched one thing stay constant. The busier times a year are known specifically by the studios when they release this stuff because they are able to track it. Long range tracking is usually pretty fucking accurate because they know what the fuck they are doing. This guy in a room full of toys that looks like he's never once touched a vagina he didn't fucking pay for clearly doesn't understand that and is pushing a whole bunch of absolute bullshit. John here says he's just making it up. He is just making it up, man. He's absolutely just making it up. It's 100% of this shit. It's really funny to watch because he's selling it, but he's selling it through an editor. So whatever's impassioned here is something that could be multiple takes of this. This isn't real stuff here. This isn't real Gary. This is all an act. This is an Alex Jones-esque act designed for disinformation. But hey, let's continue laughing at it.
The access media and the mainstream media will not mention the one giant elephant in the room. No woke marketing, no intersectional feminism, no MCU.
See what I'm talking about here? What does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? All of that commentary is all relegated to just his audience of people, right? That's all it literally is just relegated to his audience of people. These are the kind of people out there that are going to look at that and go, he said MCU, you guys. No woke marketing from a Spider-Man. Never mind the fact that MJ is a Latina woman, not a redhead, not a ginger as she would be originally. Aunt May has a much more bigger part in the film than you might be led to think. I mean, what exactly they're trying to argue here? This is a Spider-Man movie that is the worst kept secret in Hollywood, but everything people were talking about was cool. And people want to see it and they want to see what it's all about. It's also not the conclusion of a trilogy, not the launching of a new franchise in the case of the Eternals and in Shang-Chi. There's a lot there that's going into this. Tom Holland has popped up in a multitude of films. This is the conclusion of not only his trilogy, but 20 years of Sony Spider-Man storytelling. And it's really funny because none of that gets mentioned here. None of that gets brought up. The legacy of the character, his involvement over the course of the past 5.5 years has not been brought up at all. And I don't believe it will, because of course, that's not the point. When you talk about disinformation, it's about taking a little piece of information that is legit and then wrapping a false narrative around it. This is what Alex Jones does. This is exactly what Alex Jones does. And this is who Gary most likely looks up to. He's probably moving to Austin. If he's moving to Texas, he's probably moving to Austin to be closer to Alex Jones. So he's moving to, if I'm right, I don't know if I'm right, but if he, let's say he moves to Austin, Austin is what they call the blueberry in a bowl of tomato soup, meaning it is the liberal place inside of Texas. So he's moving to the liberal bastion, the liberal oasis, if that's where he's going. Maybe it's San Antonio, which is about an hour and a half outside. I don't know yet, but that's the whole point, isn't it? Right? If he moves to Austin, which is where Steven Crowder is, which is where Alex Jones is, it is the liberal center of the state. One of the reddest states, well, soon to not be, but one of the reddest states in the union right now who wants to succeed. And they're going to move to where it's the most liberal. Isn't that funny? A little bit funny, right? Simon here with $2 says, I thought Zendaya was biracial. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
While Spider-Man No Way Home is still 25% a Disney movie and they're going to make money for it, it's still going to expose the failure that was Marvel's fake woke marketing, something they're not going to.
See, again, he talks about that 25%. That 25% actually comes out after the renegotiation from 2019, when before then, so from Homecoming and Far From Home, they only made 5% first day gross, which, like I said before, is Thursday and Friday. They made 5% of that day. Now they're getting 25% of the whole shebang. But again, he's using a piece of information inappropriately because it doesn't have any context surrounding it, and he's trying to assign something to it that is just patently false and patently untrue. And it's a lie by omission. It's an absolute lie by omission, which is why this whole thing cracks me up the way that it does, because it's lie after lie after lie from a deluded 50-year-old man in a room full of toys.
Going to give up on, although they're about to get a lot of evidence proving it doesn't work. I can hear you now. Their woke marketing isn't fake. It's actually woke, and you be right. Their belief in it is fake. I don't need to remind you that this is the same company that says believe all women, yet they fired the first little lady to step out of line. This is also the same company that
see what I'm talking about there, right? The first little lady to step out of line. She was warned repeatedly to shut the fuck up and didn't shut the fuck up about false information and anti-vax nonsense and election fraud nonsense during a pandemic and a very tumultuous presidential election that ended with a bloody and violent and fatal insurrection attempt and coup attempt on the Capitol. And if anyone out there, again, tries to argue that January 6th was not what I just described it as, you have been lied to. And I recommend you go and get a fucking education. So continue listening to me. Sorry, I had to say it. Yeah. And then also, here we go. He's going to talk about the concentration camps in China, which is a very interesting little thing here. Although Jordan here says, didn't those chuds not like Gina at first? Oh, 100%, 100%. 100%. They called her a Mary Sue, and then she became the woman with the golden vagina is what happened. They loved her after she got fucking canceled for being an idiot, because they could use her, and that's exactly what happened. They used her. And unfortunately, Gina is not. She doesn't care enough to realize, in my opinion.
To work and thank camps you concentrate in. This is what real success looks like.
So here's the thing with that, though, right? He's talking about, I just want to make sure we got this right here. So China Special Thanks, supervised by the China Film Co-Production Corporation. And it's one of these guys right here. It's like the security force that they used was the same one that houses the Uyghurs. I can't remember if I'm saying it wrong. I apologize. In the situation in China, and it's a terrible situation. With that Muslim population out there being kept in prison and stuff. And that is something that we need to discuss. But again, he's trying to argue that they were, supportive of it, that they were, he's trying to frame it in a way that is fundamentally untrue. And that, of course, is what he does. He lies to you because that's all he can do.
In. This is what real success looks like. And if you want to see the difference between the manufactured success of the highly overpraised due to identity politics Shang-Chi, just take a look at my local theater here in Escondido, California, the IMAX Theater. These are the ticket sales for Shang-Chi on the Wednesday prior to its premiere. And here are the ticket sales for the Wednesday prior to the premiere of No Way Home. Now,
again, what we're talking about here is completely irrelevant. Oh, the Uyghurs. Thank you for I thought it was Uyghurs. I'm wrong. Uyghurs is the correct term. Thank you guys for telling me that. This is absolutely bullshit. Now he's talking about Escondido. I'm not too sure which. I think it's an AMC up there in Escondido. I might have gone to it 1 or 2 times when I lived there. But the idea here, though, is that Shang-Chi is an original property with an origin movie coming out on the weekend before kids go. I think it's like before some kids go back to school. And it did well, $90 million in its opening weekend. Did very good for a holiday weekend, the best Labor Day weekend opening ever. And this is, again, Spider-Man No Way Home is a culmination of not only Tom Holland's MCU experience, but 20 years of storytelling with hype through the roof. And he's trying to compare literal apples and oranges because this is literally all he's got. It's so disingenuous, but it is framed in a way that people are going to just, they're just going to like take it in and go, yeah, Gary, you're telling me the truth. He's not telling you anything remotely factual.
This isn't one of the busiest theaters in the world, but this gives you a good example. These tickets are actually difficult to get.
That is what you call a crowded movie theater. I wonder how that happened.
Fans are expecting a smart
called Spider-Man. You fucking idiot. All right. This has got to be a Bounding into Comics article here. Does anyone know what article this is? Does anyone know? Hold on. I'm going to Google this here. Byzantine. There we go. Byzantine plotted Eternals. Let's see. All right. Okay. This actually might be, this actually might end up being, no, it's not. It is not Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm trying to find the actual, I'm trying to find out where that might be because I would love to know which website this came from because I would love to know exactly where it is. And I can't seem to find it. I don't know if it's on that or not. Because, again, he's not showing the sources, so you don't really know. I will bring up, though, Bounding into Comics, because I have a feeling it's coming from Bounding into Comics. Let's see if I can do a search for that on there. All right. Nope, nothing on there. So maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong here. All right. Let us continue at least, because I want to get through this quick. There's a part of it I really want to get to. I just don't know where it's at in here.
Sequel that raises the stakes in a way no other Spider-Man has, and they're happily going to get what they have been asking for. There's arguably more action in No Way Home than Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It also has a better story, better character development, but I'll give Shang-Chi this one thing. It does have Marvel's Katie, and it's certainly easier to follow.
Oh yeah, an Asian woman, that's the problem.
Than the Byzantine plotted Eternals. Yeah, do you remember the Eternals? No one does, because Spider-Man No Way Home is making everyone forget about everything Marvel this year, which might be very convenient for Marvel. But recently, Nate Moore was out making excuses for the latest MCU disaster.
I think it was shocking. I think a little bit of that is expectation. Look, going out of Avengers Endgame, everything was a bit under the microscope. This movie was intended to be the first original after Avengers, and then COVID hit and everything changed. In the meantime, Chloe Zhao won an Academy Award. Wasn't an Academy Award winner when we hired her. Didn't actually hadn't made Nomadland when we hired her. So I think the expectation on that movie started to grow, right?
Wow.
Yeah, great point.
No, that's not a good point. It's called an excuse. Chloe Zhao winning an Academy Award doesn't change how bad The Eternals was.
Oh, for sure. Like there was no Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. It was Chloe Zhao who did the writer when we first hired her. She's fantastic and wouldn't take that decision back, but I do think the expectations changed. And I think people, because Eternals didn't have one singular source material that anybody really knew, people started to map on their fantasy version of what the movie was without really having any context of what the movie we were making was about. And then look, ultimately you make something and you send it out into the world to be judged, and it's judged.
You see what he did there? He blamed the fans for having their expectations too high. And
That's not at all what he did. He flat out said that there was no previous connection to this, and people had assigned their own connection to it. Not that their expectations are too high, but they didn't know what to expect from it, so they're a little bit cautious, perhaps. And that's really what it boils down to. At least that's my take on it. I am joined now by Caden. Caden, what's going on, man?
What's up?
Not too much. Have you been following this absolute utter train wreck of a human being?
Yes, I have.
It's very interesting
He's a very interesting specimen.
he is. Like I said, that room just looks like it smells like farts and weed.
It looks like it smells like sweat.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, well, it's California. It gets pretty warm. You should know. You're from there, too.
Yeah.
Fandom Menace Elzer said, God, he's such a victim. Attack the fans. Give me a break. I know. It's all propaganda, right? It's all propaganda, and it's all designed to be as disingenuous as humanly possible. But he is getting to the part that I really want to touch on in a minute, but because I think this is where we're going to get into really the crux of everything. But let's keep going.
apparently they did. They actually expected a story and they didn't get one. All they got was diversity and inclusion and representation, and blaming Chloe Zhao's.
I just also, real quick, what's the problem with having representation and diversity and inclusion? There's none.
Well, to them, it ruins their white culture.
Yeah, the whites.
The
It's
white
so
straight culture.
What's really interesting about this, though, is that this video, I believe, is edited by an Asian woman.
Yeah, that's what Max was saying on his stream. That like how it's
So-
weird that that his editor is a Asian woman, who, I think she also comes on those Friday Night Tight streams and stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah, X-Ray Girl, I think is what her
Yes,
name is.
X-Ray
I don't
Girl.
know much about her.
And all she's there for is the tokenism. That's all she's there for.
Fandom NSL here says he's really peddling the white replacement theories, and he will
is.
peddle it without directly saying it. But yes,
Because in the beginning they were straight out saying that we're being replaced by all these things, but then people noticed that it's that's a racist propagandist. Let's change the wording to make it look like we're not racist, but we're really just concerned fans, but they're still racist. And
I know. Like I said,
stuff.
they feel like they're fighting a culture war, but it's really a war of their own making.
Yeah, they made it themselves.
They did. They really did. And there's actually a great analogy for that we'll get to later on. But let's keep going.
Academy Award. Nate, dog, that was a terrible movie. The costumes were lazy. The storytelling was lazy. It wasn't a love letter to Kirby as it should have been. It was a love letter to your brand new audience that you helped cultivate. You know, the one that doesn't buy your stuff. As far as the U.S.-Canada prospects go, Sony is seeing at least 100.
See, that doesn't make any sense to me because the movies of where it's the origin of something, generally tends to kind of be lower earning. The only real exception to the rule would be Captain Marvel, and that had the slingshot effect of Endgame.
Yeah, and also because after Endgame, like Neymar said, that people were expecting not a lot, but something at least, and then the adding of who Chloe Zhao became while the time between Endgame and when she was hired and to when it was released, there was a lot between that time that has happened to when the movie was finished, and when she won the Academy Award, there was now higher expectations for this film now, because it was it's that film that's going to be introducing new characters, and it's also by this recently Academy Award winning director, and so people have expected more and more from this film every single time there was something new about this film, new about the cast, knew something about the crew, those added expectations, and when those expectations weren't met, people were mad because they thought, oh, this is gonna be some like high evolutionary film.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I haven't seen Eternals yet. I just have not been able to get to the theater to go see it, and I know it drops on Disney Plus here in less than a month, so I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait. Now,
Yeah, it
Spider-Man.
comes out like January 14th.
Yeah, it hasn't necessarily the movie itself. I felt the marketing on that movie was not great because they didn't give me a reason to care about the story. And the characters
one of
had
those
very
things where
little
it's
to
like-
do with it.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, like, in the beginning, the marketing was fine because it was like telling you, like, oh, you, like, this is going to be a big deal. This is going to change the MCU forever. And then, like, once obviously everyone knew that the pandemic was hitting. Like, it started hitting even more and more and more. That's when the marketing started to slow down, and I feel like they should have actually ramped it up because they're gonna need to get people in those seats to watch the movie.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, look, Marvel, the movie still did relatively well for
Yeah.
Marvel. I mean, I'm looking at the box office numbers right now. Worldwide take home is $396 million. I mean, Shang-Chi did something very similar for the worldwide. These are the launches of new franchises. So more or less basically means that, hey, guess what? When the sequel comes out, it's going to make a lot fucking more.
Yep.
Or they're going to end up putting those characters in other movies, because most of the stuff they plan on doing nowadays anyway. I don't think we're going to see a lot of origin films going forward. It's going to be origin series on Disney Plus, but the big money is going to come from team up films, and because they realize that is what people want. They want to see these characters interact with each other, and that is where the camaraderie is, and that is where the fans are, and that is where the money is predominantly. I mean, look at Spider-Man without giving away spoilers. That's a big reason.
Yeah, like, and also people, it's not like this argument of like Marvel Studios is wiping everyone's brains of the disaster of Shang-Chi and Eternals, whatever their argument is. But do they realize that it's like Marvel's still getting a lot of money from Spider-Man No Way Home, but majority of it is going to Sony. Like,
well, he mentioned the 25% a little bit ago, without giving any context as to why it's 25%, which
And, like,
again goes back to 2019.
Yeah, and also that 25% really, you have to really break down what 25% is as well.
Well, and also Marvel put up 25% of the budget.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like Marvel just got 25%. Marvel had to put in the money.
Yeah.
So,
It's not like
Agent,
they're like, hey, you can film it, let's release it, and it's part of our universe.
exactly. Shang-Chi will meet up with Spider-Man. These racist bastards will have a fit when that happens, most likely. But I do agree with Laser Luke here. Says, I bet Nerdrotic is going to complain when The Matrix Resurrections comes out, and he will find it woke, and then he'll walk out of the theater and didn't realize that Matrix has been woke since 1999. He'll probably just watch it on HBO Max and then claim he saw it in the theater or something like that. But he'll mostly do it on there. But
the audience wasn't as fascinated by what the Wachowskis put up, and it's woke.
I don't know. Well, I haven't seen it yet. I know there was a premiere tonight. I've seen good things and bad things about it. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself in theaters this week, because I'm going to go see it.
Had the San Francisco premiere just now.
Yeah. But again, I think it comes out, what 3 days it comes out? When does it come out?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Well, no, it'd be Tuesday night because they do the preview night
Tuesday
stuff.
night.
So I'll go see it Tuesday night. So I'll be happy with that. But all right, let's keep going because there's still a bit more to get to, and we have a few other videos to get to as well.
30 million at 4,325 locations, and Thursday previews starting range, possibly even 200 million.
I'm just skipping ahead.
Absolute triumphs. Just a reminder, 2 of those absolute triumphs contributed to Disney losing $65 million. Hashtag Black Widow lost money. Yes, I know Shang-Chi has a sequel in development, and I predict if the sequel comes out, it'll be Shang-Chi and the rest of the Marvel Universe. Why are Rivals, and that is the company that makes the projections so high for No Way Home? Because pre-sales for the latest John Watts MCU title are at record levels. And it turns out these pre-sale records are truthful, and the previous pre-sale records we heard were all COVID pre-sale records. So basically, we made this shit up. Here are some real records from Deadline Saturday update.
But then again, it's not making shit up. You have the vaccine, you have the booster.
Yeah.
You know, people are like wearing masks. They
And
are
it's
social distancing.
flipping
It's
Spider-Man.
and the other thing too is it's Spider-Man and all the rumors surrounding Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There's so many factors that go into it. But him disingenuously trying to say that they made up the numbers is just ridiculous. Because that's the thing is Hollywood, a lot of that shit is it's tracked like crazy.
It's funny
You know?
because like they also the ones that pushed this whole thing where Marvel or Disney was buying seats themselves.
Oh my
for
God,
Black
yeah.
Widow and
Yeah.
Shang-Chi, and it was like these are Disney money putting Disney back in their pockets. Like if that's the truth, then go report that to the FBI. Like they'll do a full investigation of that. Like do it.
No, I know. Oh, I know.
Report
It's ridiculous nonsense. Again, they just make it up, and because they're so low tier, really, in the grand scheme of things, the company's not gonna say anything. But eventually, it's entirely possible that they'll go so far that someone in one of those companies will basically just say that no, enough is enough, and let's push back. And I think maybe we'll see that. But let's keep going.
Adding another estimated 67 million overseas on Friday, Sony Marvel's Spider-Man No Way Home has grossed an amazing 181.4 million at the international box office through yesterday without China, with domestics 121.5 million Friday, the second biggest opening day of all time there. The global total is already across the 3-century mark at 302.9 million. The absolute triumph that is Shang-Chi is the 22nd highest grossing film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, wait, correction. 23rd highest grossing film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, thanks to Spider-Man No Way Home, or the 5th lowest grossing film, no matter how you look at it. And it made 417 million. Spider-Man No Way Home is set to surpass that in just 1 week. On opening day, I held...
That's still so fucking weird, to try to argue that Shang-Chi, like it's just so disingenuous in the framing.
Yeah.
But and here's the bar he was at for his little meetup in San Diego. Again, I've been to this bar. Well, they've definitely renovated since the last time I was there, but it's been a number of years. Notice how there's like 1, 2 women.
Yeah.
And the rest are all roughly middle-aged white dudes.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3.
I'm actually looking to see if I know anyone in that crowd. Because it is
At first,
entirely...
the guy in the front kind of like reminded me of Cameron Pasha for a moment.
A little bit, yeah. I'm like
It's
literally
Cameron
wondering
Pasha
if...
put a wig on.
Maybe. We will talk about Cameron Passion a little bit too. But I'm trying to see if I recognize anybody. Because I know a lot of people in San Diego. Wait. The guy right there in the hat next to the guy in the leather jacket? No. I don't think that's Matt. I know a guy who kind of looks like that, but he's definitely progressive. Anyway, he's trying to argue that like this is what these guys saw. This is crazy.
A little watch party and a meetup afterwards, and I got to meet a lot of you out there, and we had a great time. The movie theater was packed. It was enthusiastic, and we all were talking about how long it had been since we seen something like that, partially due to the coof, and the other part is due to all the woke crap Hollywood has put out. So the question...
Okay, but here's the thing with that, right? All of these fuckers go and see all of that woke crap. So they watch it because they have to talk about it.
This woke crap they talk about.
Yeah, so it's not like it's not like it's a thing. It's just not a thing. I'm sorry.
No.
It's it's Spider-Man movie is an event film. Shang-Chi and the Eternals, those aren't really event films.
This one even though like Eternals isn't like it's like a catch-up origin type thing.
Yeah.
And then Shang-Chi is like an actual origin.
Yeah,
So
and they'll play out later on when they can use the characters in a different way. It's again, we have been rehashing the
And
same
also,
arguments,
like-
I'll fully admit, but
And also like Shang-Chi has broken the Labor Day weekend records.
he's trying to argue that was manufactured.
Oh right.
It's not manufactured though. It's like
Yeah.
it's not manufactured. It's like, oh, it's the lowest grossing, Marvel film or the 5th lowest grossing Marvel film. And it's like, look what it's up against.
Yeah.
And then, you have to apply it to like
it almost beat F9 like on its opening weekend.
Andrew Dunbar here for $2 says Harry Orenstein died. He made Transformers. Well, that's unfortunate. That's really sad.
Now I have to look this guy up.
Yeah. Let's see. Kira here says that, well, with Gary, he wants to things to find, anything to hate, and it's annoying. Oh, no, 100%. Let's see. Jordan here says, keep rehashing those arguments. They don't have the brain cells to understand it. Well, I'm hoping that they do. I'm hoping that they eventually figure it out because, God damn it, I'm tired of saying it, but let's keep going.
Question I was asked the most at the meetup and on Friday Night Tights last night
Was, does your beard smell? And why does it look like you wipe your ass with it? But
it was, is this a sign of change or is this just an outlier? Now, I don't want you to get too excited. There's still a long way to go. Hollywood tends to take something that's successful and use it as a mandate to get more woke. Just look at the MCU, post-Endgame, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, He-Man, The Last of Us Part 2, Game of Thrones, Westworld Season 2, Altered Carbon Season 2, Iron Fist Season 2. Currently, we have The Wheel of Time, and that's from Amazon. And based on everything we've seen from that, it's not looking too good for Lord of the Rings. And not to...
Now, keep in mind, he has made a Lord of the Rings rant before where he baselessly said that it's possible that they're going to introduce critical race theory into Lord of the Rings.
What?
Like he said this months ago. So you can tell with that little screed right there, what he is alluding to is like, all right, let's shit on the Wheel of Time, which is actually doing very well.
Yeah,
it's a lot. I haven't watched it yet, which is like, and I'm a fan of the books and I've read the first 4, but like, I need to watch this. And then, you know, he's like talking about the other stuff there, but it's like anything with, notice how like every shot there was basically a woman or someone who was gay.
Yeah.
Right. And that is deliberate dog whistling through the editing that is designed in order to make you, you know, question if a person is gay or if you see a woman in a movie, is that an agenda? It's woke. It's not white men. And I've never seen so many dudes really upset about white men not getting the spotlight. And I laugh at like a lot of that really far left progressive shit when they try to, or not even progressive, like the far left shit when they're like, you know, everything is misogynistic and sexist and they have to call it all out. I laugh at that too. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this thing, we're going to be talking a lot about the horseshoe theory, which is, again, the far left and the far right are exactly the fucking same. Just on the other end of the spectrum. And believe me, some of Gary's audience is probably on the spectrum. Yeah, I said it.
Put it past me, honestly.
Be a Debbie Downer, but it wasn't that long ago. Luke Skywalker made his triumphant return, and we all know what Disney did right after that. Our escapism has been
what did they do after that?
By activism.
Yeah, what
and
did
this
Fire
has
Carano?
been deliberate. Razor Fist recently
yeah.
discussed
here we go.
this
In
a live stream, and the important thing here is not him name dropping yours truly.
Listen.
It's what he said about what we do.
This is why I laugh when people say shit like, oh, you're just playing and reviewing video games. You're not really fighting the culture war. The implication being you need to be a political pundit. You need to be obsessed with adult things. You guys need to look up Antonio Gramsci. Gramsci is really the beginning of modern cultural Marxism. And Gramsci's stipulated that the purpose of taking over seemingly banal entertainment, at that time it would have been things like movies, plays, and such, is not to propagandize. It's to block off avenues of escape from politics. They want everyone political because as long as everyone's political, everyone's outraged, which in the Marxists' mind, which Antonio Gramsci was, this is ultimately going to spur the class conflict, and this fills the coffers of the communists, and down the road, it spurs the revolution. So I want to make this unequivocally clear. You can bash fucking the quartering, nerdrotic, whoever, the people who talk about the latest woke thing and then criticize it. They're doing more for the culture war and to stave off Marxism than pundits are.
Yes.
Straight up. Because the Marxist tactic right now is not to move politically. It's to move within the entertainment and cut off all escape. Gramsci believed that Great Britain, of all the countries on earth, was primed for a class struggle on paper. But he realized the revolution wasn't coming, and he basically decided that it was because people were relatively prosperous and they were distracted by entertainment. So if you actually cut the Marxists out, if you expose the corruption of the entertainment and expel them from it, you actually create avenues of escape for normal people. You know, you hear people say all the time, man, what happened even like 10 years ago? People just kind of minded their own business on politics and it didn't really matter. And now everyone's all keyed up on it. Well, social media is keeping us perpetually engaged to it. But more than that, the entertainment is having politics injected into it.
What we are calling out is the activists and the companies bending the knee to them. You see, they win either way. Either the thing that we love is completely subverted or destroyed. What do you think, Bad Reboot?
Okay, so all of that, right, was really what I wanted to get to, and all of this unbelievably dumb shit that he's saying, rife with inaccuracies. Is this a whole bit right there with Razor Fist and talking about the culture war and how these guys are doing more for the culture war than political pundits. And then if you listen to what Razor Fist says there, they want to keep everybody angry. They want to keep everybody outraged because they want to keep them political. What in the ever-loving fuck do you think that guy is doing? What the fuck I've known Razor Fist. I've known him for years. He's not that fucking intelligent. He lost a debate to Kyle Kalinske a number of years ago on the Drunken Peasants and probably still hasn't let it go yet. The whole point about Razor Fist is that he's so over the top that he's meant to come across the same way these guys are by bombarding them with these fast talking points that are not even steeped in deep research, but are just over, very surface level arguments. It's meant to desensitize people to actually thinking about real things. And that's really what he's doing here by saying like these guys by talking about the woke shit and all this stuff is just it's doing more to fight the culture war, that they're culture warriors. The thing is, they're not, because at the end of the day, these billion-dollar companies are still making fucking money. At the end of the, sorry, go ahead.
Like it's like they don't, like you're saying, like they don't say it much, but all they do is just, either they say something really fast paced where it seems like they're saying a lot, but they're not saying a lot. And all they're saying is dumb stuff about pushing this agenda that the only person that's like pushing the agenda are them. And that agenda is that their culture that is being attacked by these companies is endangered when it's not.
Well, the biggest problem, you're right, but they know that the people are not going to respond. Actually, I think Kira here makes a great point. It says, so a destiny tactic. Yeah, kind of. One of the, if there's people that are like being blocked in the chat, I haven't seen it over here on StreamYard, so whoopsie. But hey, I hope they learned something. Or I know some of them are probably like whatever channels they are. Or there's been some like bot accounts that have been coming on in. But anyway, the idea here is that, by trying to claim that they're going after activists, what they're going after are people who are just bottom of the totem pole, right? That's all they are. They're bottom rung people. They're not the showrunners. They're not the deal makers. They're not the executives. They're not the producers. They're not the telecom conglomerates that oversee a lot of these studios, right? Who owns Warner Brothers? Warner Media. Who owns Warner Media? Oh, AT&T. Who owns Universal? Comcast. These companies they own these massive conglomerates, own these entertainment companies who, hey, guess what? Are understanding that the demographics are shifting, that the concept of the nuclear family that is really what these guys are trying to get back to. If you ever really listen to what boomers argue when they talk about like the changing of the tides and how they fear all this other shit, what they're really wanting is to go back to that idea of the nuclear family, how it was presented, husband, wife, 2.5 children, white picket fence, single income family. The idea of an Americana that simply never existed. It's fucking fiction. It's never going to exist.
It's like you said, it's never existed. The only reason why, funny thing is in 11th and 12th grade, we learned exactly about the atomic family and that family is, and Jack and Jill, the books of Jack and Jill, like how it's like.
Oh yeah, those books.
Like that's where this came from, and that's where it stayed. Like, and it's only been in children's books. Like, and so they're acting like children. They want to go back to this little happy life of reading children books and think that children books, those Jack and Jill books, are what their life is.
Exactly. They want to go back to a reality that doesn't exist, and they feel that people are that these people that are working in Hollywood, that are writing these things, it's all woke, it's all this, is all that. When they don't realize that there's been a shifting demographic. Again, they're all trying to tie it into the white replacement theory. The reason why we're seeing a massive increase in Latino-led projects, especially in the superhero world, is because a lot of Latinos go to the movies. They do. They really do. They're actually like the highest spending demographic right now. They have been for quite some time. And so guess what? Studios look at the data. They look to see who's spending the money, and they realize that is where the money is. And so they want to start putting it towards that because, hey, guess what? At the end of the day, they're trying to earn a profit. And here's the biggest thing about this too. As much as I dislike Ben Shapiro, I dislike the Daily Wire, at least they're attempting to make something. Good, bad, we don't know yet, but at least they're attempting to put their money where their mouth is. All people like Nerdrotic are doing are acting like Paul Revere, running through the town screaming, the British are coming, the British are coming, the British are coming, every single fucking night. But guess what? The British never fucking come. The problem is, though, is that the fear of the British coming has now overwhelmed everyone that hears him, and they believe that this person is like the town crier. He is going to call it out. He's going to, I don't know, maybe protect them to some extent, make them feel happy, oh, this guy gets it. We have to make sure his voice is amplified. And it's kind of frightening. It's really kind of frightening how this stuff is. It really makes you worry about everything. Now, I that's the part I wanted to get to with this. The rest of it is just more of the same, him crying over some bullshit that simply is not a reality driven event. And it's him just, fear mongering for the sake of all that. But what we do have is another thing to get to here. And I wanted to kind of touch upon this little interview with Jeremy Griggs, Mr. Griggs, Geeks and Gamers.
Matt, I have to go, but I'll be back in like 15 minutes.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right. H-Bar is here for $2. Says, I'm Latino, and that's true. I mean, dude, you can watch the demographics on that. It's actually been a real thing for a while. Kira here says, Run, Hide, Fight was an interesting film, but I need to watch it again and make a final judgment. Here's the thing with Run, Hide, Fight. Run, Hide, Fight was not made by the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire just bought the distribution rights and then put it out. All right. That's all they did. So it is. And the thing is, the guy who directed that movie, like, more or less, there's some interviews I saw with him that it was trying to like deride the leftist politics of Hollywood and whatnot. They're all financially motivated individuals. And so what this first clip right here with Jeremy that I wanted to touch upon, he talks a bit about I just thought it was kind of funny. He makes a comment here about how he's never really had any blowback on anything.
I've very rarely have I had anything that really blew back on me big time. Obviously the Zack Snyder thing blew up on my face when I brought Zack Snyder on to,
I just wanted to cover that. I thought that was pretty funny. Because he admits that the whole thing with Zack Snyder blew up in his face. Now, what he won't admit to you is that he's been lying this whole time, right? What he won't admit to you is that he, that they lied to Zack Snyder, that they had set up Zack Snyder. And Uche will definitely not admit it. And never mind the fact that, by the way, this is real, by the way. A couple days before the live stream with Zack Snyder, Uche had took hashtag Geeks and Gamers off of his Twitter profile. And then after everything blew up in their face by like about a couple days, he put it back up magically. So if he's all about Geeks and Gamers, if he supports Geeks and Gamers, he took it off of his social media profile because he knew that they couldn't be associated with it. And he wanted to make sure that he wouldn't be associated with it during this particular crowdfunding campaign or, charity drive. And so that's a little tidbit there. That's pretty funny. Luke here says, how about the fact people uncovered videos of you initially loving The Last Jedi, then taking it back when you could milk money from that? Yeah, I know. No, he I don't know if he necessarily says that in this. It's a long thing. I listened to a bit of it here and there, but let me find where the next bit was, because there was it's about 30. There we go. Let's go back a little.
Life in the retail industry.
There, okay. So yeah, he kind of goes on here talking about the job a little bit. I just thought this was a little bit interesting. Yeah, I know. I love The Last Jedi. Jeremy Griggs. You know, he probably still likes it. You know, because again, that's all he can do is complain.
Where I talked about with Geeks and Gamers, like, you know, I feel good that it's good for me that it took me so long to kind of get to the point where I'm at, because, you know, I worked most of my life in the retail industry, grocery stores. I was in management, and, you know, that'll teach you about dealing with people. My God.
Yeah. I don't know how you did it. I was a waitress. I lasted like a few months. I would be like sobbing. I'd be like,
Yeah.
they only cook the salmon one way.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. So me working all of those years, you know, real job, and then, you know, kind of failing a lot with Geeks and Gamers to get it to where it is. I think that made me appreciate where I'm at, and it makes me, you know, more motivated, and it's built me for where I'm at now. Whereas I see a lot of these like 22-year-old TikTokers or Twitch people or YouTubers, they have like 15 million subs, and they talk about how they need a break because it's too stressful. It's too stressful for me to have my Lamborghinis and all that, you know.
Worked for a half hour.
It's pathetic, you know. And so a lot of
I love that argument there, and I mean that sarcastically, because look, both of these idiots know. Both of them know what it takes to do any of this. TikTok is different. You are literally creating stories for people with the attention span of a gnat, whether you want to go for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, or 3 minutes on TikTok. It requires you to think of a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end in a very quick and rapid succession. The pre-production and the post-production kind of have to be perfect in order to get to something that is going to be big, and it's going to be viral, and it's going to be interesting. With a constant rapid changing algorithm, the one that they, you know, especially Jeremy milks in regards to hate clicks, the element of filmmaking TikToks and making those kind of short, very curated content is not something that should just be looked at and laughed at. It's not easy. It's not simple. A lot goes into it, just like it does for any kind of video you do on this platform, whether it is a pre-recorded hateful rant as we just watched, or a live stream here, because Chrissy had to set up those lights, had to set up that microphone, had to set up that backdrop, had to set up those foam pads, right? And Jeremy there had to get the TV set up just right. He had to play the Chrono Cross, you know, the opening cinematic in the background, the lighting there, everything else. That costs time, that takes money, and that takes precision in order to get it running correctly. So to sit there and go, well, it built me for this, is bullshit. What built you for this was realizing that you could grift hundreds of thousands of people by selling them on hatred and bullshit. That's what you fucking do. There's another part in this, and I don't know if we'll get to that before we get to the next video, if it's in this like 10-minute clip I want to play. But there's a part where he talks about how like he wants to like he wants to go up to some of the people that have talked shit about him and like meet them in public and like, you know, and expose them or in whatever. The thing is though, he'll do it to people that he can intimidate. But if someone is not intimidated by Jeremy, he won't do it. Now, he like, and I've called him out multiple times. I've offered to debate up multiple times. He doesn't do it. He likes to pull out this clip from when I was on Mad Max's channel of where I had already previously said that I had to leave because I was mobile. I was out doing food deliveries. I couldn't stay. And that's the truth of it. But he likes to frame it as if, oh yeah, no, like Jarbo's running for me. He's just too afraid to talk to me. It's not that. The last time him and I actually spoke, I demolished him with a simple question. And I asked him point blank, how would he feel? Or how does he think his daughter will feel when she discovers the 200 videos that he's made bashing Brie Larson and the fact that he's proud of it? Now, you may not like my tactic, and I don't frankly care. I'm asking a very relevant question to play to his internal psyche. If you don't care what people say about you, then you wouldn't care what your kid thinks of you. And if you're going to sit there and bash women and minorities all day long for profit, then you're not going to care that your kid is going to find out one day that you're kind of a bigoted, sexist, misogynistic piece of shit. Something to think about. Because we all have to have those conversations with our children about what we were like when we were younger and the kind of people we want to raise them to be. We all have to come to those, have those conversations with our children. And we have to look back at ourselves and look at the mirror and question things that we've done and realize that our children are here for us to raise to be better than we are. To be better than we are. But what these grifters and what these pundits do not acknowledge is that they influence the minds of younger individuals into being hateful, bigoted, misogynistic chuckle fucks. Imagine one of Jeremy's audience actually dating his daughter. Imagine that down the road. Someone who values women so little that the fact that one stars in a Marvel movie that grosses $1 billion is enough for her to be lambasted to the end of time, and that's okay. Think about how that person will treat anyone who is a woman in his life. This shit is racism and sexism and misogyny, all that shit, it's fucking learned. It is learned. It is taught to children through the actions of their parents. Our children make us better people by showing us that we have to be better, by showing us the flaws in ourselves and allowing us the opportunity to do something right. That's what I'm talking about here. I've done shitty things. I've said shitty things. But I have 2 daughters that I love, that I adore. And when the time comes to discuss the crappy things I've said in my past or the mistakes that I've made, we'll have those conversations. But the one thing that we won't have is asking me why I'm still like that. I don't believe Mr. Griggs will have that same experience. Yeah, a daughter's revenge terrifies every father, maybe. And again, I say that simply as a way of bringing up a point, of exercising a point. Because if Jeremy here has no problem calling it like it is, then I have no problem calling it like it is. And I will ask the questions I deem to be the most relevant. And because I would ask him that question again, he won't have a conversation with me. That's the reality of it. These people fear anyone who can actually break through their echo chamber. That's why more people need to stand up and push back. Because that is how you can reach other people who may not know who they are. And I've talked to many people who've watched videos criticizing these guys that have said, you know what? I used to watch them until I realized how full of shit and how full of hatred they are. How they turned something they love, movies, entertainment, television, video games, into something that they hate. Because it makes them angry and it makes them bitter and it makes them cynical and nihilistic and apathetic. And it makes them start to really dislike the things that they love because they use that anger and that confusion to profit. Oh yeah, I don't think you're going to get many likes out of this one, but if people want it, be all good. Didn't Jeremy and Gary ridicule a little girl for wearing a Ray tee at a con? Then run from her as her father confronted them? There's apparently a video. I didn't know. If you can find that, that would be fucking hysterical. You know, that would be hysterical. Also, yeah, Kelly Marie Tran was a big one. That was Ethan Van Sciver. And what was your boy Zach, right? If I remember correctly. So let's keep going.
These companies are just doing handouts to people that line up with their narrative. Like, oh, you believe that Donald Trump is the worst person ever and that, you know, police officers are killing black people at record rates. Here, you can write the next Marvel movie. It's like, oof. But they didn't. They don't have any experience. They don't, but it doesn't matter. They just get handed shit without working for it. So that translates into a lot of unqualified.
Oh my fucking God. Do you know what it takes to get handed a Marvel movie? Do you know what it takes to like work on this shit? Like, you are not just going to be some random asshole on the street that they're going to go, hey, you want to write a Marvel movie, dude? Like, Kevin Feige is not going to come knocking on my door, you know, and be like, hey, so you're a fan, you like to write, you want to fucking, like, you want to do Shang-Chi too? You know, because I'd be like, yeah, but I'm bringing back fucking Finn Jones' Iron Fist, bitch. That's going to happen. Deal with it. That doesn't happen like that. No one gets handed anything. No one gets, this is the thing. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the industry works. And Chrissy Mayer has a better idea of it. Has a way better fucking idea of it than, and you know, and she's not going to fucking like push back on this shit. Like, it's so fucking weird. Hey, what's going on, Lexi? How you doing? I'm just the Hassan Piker of fucking responding to idiotic movie chuds. Uh, don't worry, I left the fascism home though.
People in positions that they have not earned themselves to be in.
Yeah, we see that a lot in comedy too, for sure. From Jesus.
See,
Davila,
again,
just
not
wanted
really
to
much of an
say,
argument
love
there.
what you do, Chrissy. Keep up the great work. And hail, geeks and gamers. Jeremy is an awesome guy.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate that.
You. Let's go to another video. No.
Video.
No.
I look back on my early ones. I'm like, God, those were so cringe when I used to do that.
You have a hard time listening to your.
Man, I look on the ones you do now, and it's the same exact feeling. It doesn't change. You know, I mean, you can still put lipstick on a pig, and it's still going to be a fucking pig, Jeremy.
Yourself.
Yes, I really do. I'm
You're
like,
so
God.
humble.
Oh, it was terrible. I was like, why
you
do
were
people watch this?
Originally like a behind the scenes guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I never wanted it. I've never wanted to be the center of attention per se. But at the end of the day, you got to go with what works. And a smart businessman goes with what works. And I tried to do it the other way, to try to be like, all right, I'm not the guy on camera, and that failed miserably. So here we are.
So here we are from Southeastern Kaiju. Ooh, simp coin. Thank you.
You have to love the humbleness there. Well, I didn't want to be on camera, but I had to do what works for my team. I got to do what works for me. Dude, you love the attention. You absolutely love the attention. It's so ridiculous. I always love it when people like him, they like to play the over the top ego, right? But then they try to drop down to the humbleness. Well, it's something I have to do. Nah, dude, you like it. You like going around the country, and you like doing the meetups, and you like all that shit. You know, you like giving people in Boston pigs in a blanket, because that's what he gave Saggy and everything, as a way to, you know, like trump up your ego and to make it feel better. I mean, look, I get it. I've met people in real life that come up to me on the street and they say that they're fans, you know, and I appreciate that. I've met other people that have come up and like, you know, like not been fans. That happens too. It's fine. It's part of the game. But don't act like you're some fucking humble ass motherfucker who doesn't love the goddamn attention. You do this for attention. You admit you do this for attention. So there's that. Laszlo here says, I unsubscribed from 2 YouTubers who were always negative, etc. a few months ago. I mean, like, I get negative sometimes too. People always attack me for the Snyder Cut stuff. But in reality, it's like, I do try to be more positive, and that is something I'm working on for 2022. But I just want to call out these people, these bad takes, because I feel like, you know what? I'm tired of not saying something. I'm tired of dealing with the fallout from these people and their idiotic, moronic takes and their disinformation campaigns, and then having to deal with their fan base that is too stupid to know what the fuck is going on. It's like, you know what? Listen and learn. And this is clearly all cringe.
I started doing a simp cast where I have an all lady podcast and we talk about our simping. But then we also simp on Henry Cavill. We simp on other people and things. So it's not just. People get upset and very triggered by the word simp, you know.
People, yeah. I mean, at this point, like, people are offended by so many things these days.
Really, Jeremy? Like tell me how people are offended by stuff.
People get called grifters, and I'm like, that has turned into where it's nothing more than that person is more successful than me, so therefore I call him a grifter.
Oh no, Mr. Griggs. Oh no. Oh no. No, you don't get to alter that terminology here, because here's the deal. When you say in your videos that you come on out and you know, you like to monetize your haters, or you like to turn it into money, that is you grifting. That is you saying right there, well, I got to do what works. I got to follow what works. I got to be this way. That is you grifting. That is not you being an honest actor. That is not you being an honest player. That is you absolutely using the tools in your arsenal in order to get the highest up you can on other people, which is grifting, because you deep down don't believe this shit. You know it's all fucking lies. You know it's all fucking bullshit. Any modicum of research, anyone with half a fucking brain can school you on how the industry works. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard. You simply just said people who didn't earn it get handed it. Are you fucking kidding me? That's retarded. And I'm going to use the word because it is. It's ridiculous. It's dumb. This is exactly how you are a grifter, but then trying to argue, well, I'm not. People just, I'm more successful. It's not that at all, man. I would debate anyone, big, small, whatever, on subjects if they want to debate me. I like debate. It's fun because I think at that point you can at least have the conversation. But where these guys are at right now, is it only serves to hurt them rather than benefit them if they're not in an echo chamber, which is why Friday Night Tights is as much of a bubble as it is.
I've been called a grifter. You've been called a grifter. All the Friday Night Tights guys have been called grifters, and it's exactly that. It's like it just means you're jealous and you're
all
have some success.
Right. But would that mean like the way that they attack Brie Larson and the way that they attack like Marvel and the way that they attack Zack Snyder and the way that they attack like everything else that they do, because nothing they say is ever really positive? Does that just mean that they're jealous of other people with more success? Are they jealous of people who actually create something of value to put out into the world? Create art of some kind, or some kind of literary contribution or musical contribution or something along those lines? It almost feels as if it's just projection. Maybe that's why he's wearing a hat. He's got a big ass forehead. Big enough to put a movie on. Who knows?
Right. I mean, we've gotten to a point now. When I was growing up, if someone was called a racist or a sexist, it was a horrible thing to label someone. You're like, oh my God, that person's racist. Got to stay away from them. But now, if you get called a racist, it just means that person has an opinion that I don't like. That's all it means. It's so stupid.
It is so stupid.
Oh my God, that was such posturing right there. He's trying to like, oh my God, that's so bad. That's so bad. All it means is someone has an opinion I don't like. Dude, look, in some cases, absolutely. Let's be fair. All right. Let's be fair. It happens. But you know what, when they also use your words against you, you know, that like, and it's repeated statements that you've said that you consistently double down on, that might allow them to come to an informed opinion. You know, it takes a while to get there, but you're definitely prejudiced. You're definitely bigoted. I would argue a wee bit on the racist side, but 100% sexist and misogynistic. That is very true. Yeah, Kira here is right. We're going in circles. That's pretty accurate. Yeah, Chrissy Mayer going on the kill stream. I know, that was pretty funny. Mladner says, I don't like the term woke. People have too many interpretations to the point that you get lost in trying to understand it. Well, that's essentially that as well, right? What he's talking about there with racist can be applied to woke as well. They use woke for everything. What do you mean there's a black person in this movie? It's woke. It's exactly the nonsense that they use. Really funny overall.
But it's crazy. And I feel like there's so many overlaps with what you're saying, like with kind of like the gaming world or with like film and television. Like if you have the right opinion, then you are elevated more so. And that doesn't mean you don't also have the juice, but I find that happens a lot in comedy. Like this they just announced the Netflix is a Joke comedy festival. I know you talked about this recently.
Yep.
It will John Mulaney, Pete Davidson, and more. This is going to be happening in Los Angeles from April 28th to May 8th. Canceled last year due to the pandemic. The perfect excuse. The festival's returning in full force. A lot of people are upset that day.
I love that. And I don't use the term like as an affectionate terminology here, but I love that they downplay COVID, right? We just crossed 800,000 people in this country have died from COVID. 800,000 have died probably before this thing is over. Potentially 1 million Americans will have perished from this virus. I've known people who have died. It's possible you've known people who have died. This is not a laughing matter, but they downplay it in order to push a narrative because they know that's what their idiotic single cell organismed audience believes. Fucking believe. It's so fucking weird. It drives me up the wall. But then again, who knows? Here's the thing. If she's criticizing this, right, maybe Degrassi's right. Maybe she invited no. Well, then that just means she's jealous that she wasn't invited to this. Right? Maybe she's just I'm on Compound Media. I'm with Anthony Cumia. I was on the kill stream. I'm funny. Right, guys? I'm funny. No, of course not. She hasn't said a funny thing all episode.
Dave Chappelle is making an appearance, supposedly.
Yeah, Will Wheaton came out and cried like a little.
Who is Will Wheaton? I watched your video.
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
I'm not gonna say he cried like the like a little bitch. I'll say he cried like the little bitch that he is. So Will Wheaton is a Star Trek actor. He played Wesley on the Next Generation, and he's just a pathetic beta male. He sits when he pees. He's just pathetic, and he came out and he basically,
the sitting while peeing thing is always kind of funny to me because it's actually better for your prostate. Just as a scientific fact there. It's actually medically beneficial for you as a man to sit while you pee. So, if you sit while you shit, right? Like, you still piss while you shit. It's very funny. That's an argument people use.
basically said Dave Chappelle is a bigot and a piece of shit. And he did what every left-wing activist does. He invents a fake story that probably never happened so that he can try and say, I once was a bad person too when I used the F slur, but now I have seen the error of my ways. Because he essentially treated this story where he said he was radical. God, you're going to cringe when I say this. He basically was like saying that at a young age, he was radicalized by Eddie Murphy's comedy. Because Eddie Murphy's comedy was like very like it was, homophobic and F slurs and anti-gay, and so
funny.
Yeah, so then he was in the locker room with a bunch of guys after a game, and they were all talking about the game, and then he used the F slur, and they all went really quiet, and he learned that they were all gay, and at that moment he realized, I'm the bigot, and I need to see the error of my way. This is the whole story he invented about why people should hate Dave Chappelle, and I'm like, leftists always do this shit. They always create a fucking story that did not happen just so they can take that fake story and virtue signal off of it. And that's what he did. But yeah, Will Wheaton blocked me on Twitter years ago. I don't know why. I'd never even interacted with him. He went after PewDiePie years ago, called him a Yahtzee and a horrible white supremacist and all this. And he's just a left-wing nut job. These people are pathetic.
See, here's the thing: is I agree that Will Wheaton is a left-wing nut job. He said a lot of stuff about not me specifically, but like Gamergate when it happened, and a lot of it was misunderstood on his part, and he was playing up a narrative. That is true. But in the context of what he was saying in regards to Dave Chappelle, he was saying like, and I don't agree with like him trying to cancel Dave Chappelle. I think Dave Chappelle's great. I love his comedy. Even the closer was like kind of cringe at times, but you know what? I get what he was trying to say, and not everyone's going to agree with me, and that's perfectly fine. But what he was saying in that moment was when he was a kid, he was like 13. He was, he would actively use the F slur. He would actively use probably other terms as well, as children tend to do. As children who learn that these words are taboo, but they find them to be funny because they're used in offensive comedy or they're used in things that they should not be exposed to at that age, they will use them. And in the context of the situation, he was playing hockey with a group of guys. And after the game in the locker room, he had said the F slur, and then they all got mad and he found out that they were gay, and he was embarrassed for having said it, which is, that's perfectly fine to be embarrassed for having said it. That's the whole point of his story. It's not that he's virtue signaling something that he did. He's using it as an example as to why he changed his ways. And then that, I'm not going to fault him for it. I get it. I understand it. Because even with these people, you have to understand that empathy is something that you should definitely have. Because that is what he was trying to say. But of course, I wouldn't expect Jeremy to understand that. I don't expect Jeremy to understand anything about anything that isn't already a pre-approved talking point from Nerdrotic. I'm not even making that up. Right? I'm not even making that up. It's like, you can tell it's very much a pyramid with Nerdrotic at the top, and that is the approved opinion. And anyone who disagrees with that publicly is outsized, like Mecha Random 42 and Jesse Milestone. So, Anyway, McLeod says, sorry, not sorry. I'm with Wheaton. With his comments, plus he didn't go through so much abuse and suicide type trauma growing up just to be labeled a beta male by a limp-dick fucking troll like Jeremy. I mean, look, again, I am not a Will Wheaton fan. I think he has gone way too far so many times and jumping to conclusions so many damn times that, you know, I'm not a fan of his, but I read his story and I understood the mentality of where he was at the time. And yeah, you're right. You do suck. Jeremy just described Geeks and Gamers. That's right. That is very, very, very true. So, all right. I think we can kind of move on from this one here. Cause there's still one more to get to. This one is just, it's a long ass conversation. This whole thing is just fucking terrible. A lot of stupid shit here. There was another thing here where he talks about it being a job. I lost the timestamp for it, but he talks about it being a job. And like, this is the kind of stuff he does. He's effectively a culture warrior. He's an SJW, an anti-SJW that comes out and attacks everything that might have a political left leaning, but then has the audacity to call Will Wheaton a beta male, limp dick bitch sort of thing. Luke F here says, yeah, Will Wheaton never really informed himself enough on issues before he opened his mouth. I'd agree with that. Yeah. Again, what have we talked about here today, guys? What have we been looking at? Oh, is it potentially the horseshoe theory here? Right? Horseshoe theories. That's kind of a big thing. We can kind of see that, again, far left, far right, same fucking thing. And that's what all three of these guys are. The same fucking thing. They are exactly what they hate. They have 100% become what they hate. And it's very, very apparent, except they lack the cognitive ability to recognize that. Lexi here says, I heard Will Wheaton automatically blocks you if you say shut up Leslie to him. You know what's funny about that is a couple of years ago, he was going to be at Comic-Con and I thought about crowdfunding a skywriter to say shut up Wesley above Comic-Con. That would be pretty funny. This was actually a Chrissy Mayer stream. She interviewed Jeremy on. So I'll just, we've gone through enough of that. And honestly, it's even my patience is kind of getting thin on this shit. But for the final clip we're going to take a look at here is one that was sent to me. Again, with our good palate, we're going to cleanse the palate with pure idiocy, pure lunacy, pure nuttiness. And that, of course, is with our friend Cameron Pasha. That's why it's this will be pretty fun. In a video from Valiant Renegade, another idiot, Marvel Fatigue, Media Fog of Hollywood Part 2 with Cameron Pasha. Jordan here says, would it not shock you if Meat Canyon makes a parody cartoon of these chuds, especially Jeremy? It would break their ego if some of these guys came after them in a cartoon. It would absolutely destroy their ego. 100% if it did. And that's kind of the whole point. That's kind of the whole element of it, right? If you end up breaking their ego, if you end up kind of breaking the whole thing down, they don't know what to do. They can't actually respond to any of this stuff in a way that is going to be a solid defense. All they've got is like the you or whatever the fuck it might be. And that is really what it boils down to here. But I see that I have the 709 queued up. We're going to start a few seconds earlier, but let's see.
This gentleman is a very good writer, and he's using words very carefully.
Just as context, they're reading a Puck News article, which was the guy, Matthew Baloney, who broke the Kathleen Kennedy news that they all hated. So they're reading him again, talking about, Spider-Man and his deal with Sony and everything else, just to give you guys some context.
With intended effect.
Yep. And here, according to multiple sources, there's a deal for a fourth Marvel-produced movie that will star Tom Holland, and it's already quietly in development. We've talked about this a little bit before on this channel. Of course, Amy Pascal, I think in the last couple of weeks, had come out and was tacitly announcing a new trilogy, Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland, as a matter of fact.
And it was, again, Amy Pascal, former head of Sony, producer of this film, announcing this rather than Kevin Feige.
Right. And Amy Pascal, just so y'all understand the structure, Amy Pascal she works under Tom Rothman. So in terms of, I believe I have that right. I think I remember that right. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. For one, Kevin Feige would not come out and announce the movie. All right. He would not come out and announce a fourth Spider-Man film. Amy Pascal, Tom Rothman, Sony Pictures, Columbia Pictures, they would come out and announce a fourth Spider-Man movie in conjunction with a Marvel Studios production. That is how that would handle, is they would then announce it because it is a production through their studio, the distribution through their studio, that Marvel Studios is simply handling the day-to-day operations of it, the overseeing of it, because that is the deal that they have come to. So by that whole point of saying like, it was her who said it and not Feige, but go back all the way to Homecoming's marketing and or the press tour for marketing or press tour for Homecoming, and Amy Pascal had made comments about the future of it all the way back in 2017, with Feige seriously downplaying it. This is not an uncommon occurrence. It is not a new occurrence. This is not a new thing. These are people, again, what is this? These guys should fucking know better. That's the thing that drives me up the wall the most about this, is that they literally, honestly do not know better.
Yeah, okay.
She used to be the head of the studio, but then she was brought down by those unfortunate, Sony email hacks, which brought out some embarrassing emails. But she's rebounded to be the successful producer of these Spider-Man movies,
because she solidified that as her exit strategy. That's the other part of that too. When she knew she was on her way out, she knew she was going to be either forced out or whatever. She secured the deal with Spider-Man and Marvel, put herself in charge of it, and then pimped towards the door. That was her golden parachute. She took it, and it's worked out well for her in the subsequent few years. That again was, it was a good exit strategy, but it's just, he says rebounded. She's done other things. She did I think she did Little Women. She's done some other stuff. She's got a first look deal at Universal right now. It is not it's just, again, anyway, these guys don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and Rothman was the one that really stepped in and drove this whole Marvel-Sony marriage. And we'll get into more details in the official Spider-Man corporate video that'll come out before Spider-Man No Way Home in the next couple of weeks. But I want to draw your attention here to one piece, and I thought this was interesting because we have discussed this before, once again.
Hold on. Cylon here makes a great point. Says they 100% know better. They also know that their audience does not know better. That is very true. That is very astute. They absolutely know the lies that they spout, and they know that their audience won't actually do the research to know it for themselves. And that is always a problem. But thank you for that, Cylon. I completely agree.
Talking about Marvel's history. Since wresting control of the unit from Ike Perlmutter in 2015, Feige has...
Since resting? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's wrestling. If anything, it should be considered wrestling, not resting. But, hey, whatever.
Established his own culture and ramped up output, which can be 3 to 4 films per year, plus multiple Disney Plus series, which Disney Plus would, of course, be ordering from Feige. Mm-hmm. Despite that, Marvel's product has remained impervious to the usual franchise fatigue that has plagued every other property in the blockbuster area. It's relatively unbelievable. Yet, it can't go on forever, can it? The Marvel miracle must end or at least slow down, right? So I find, again, the language very interesting in this article. Wresting control from Ike Perlmutter. We've talked about this before, where it was like, we saw what the lineage of Marvel was while Feige kind of still had some partners and other people working with him.
He had Jon Favreau, he had Mr. Perlmutter. Yes.
Yep. And then even this art.
So Ike Perlmutter, who is a notorious spendthrift, a massive cheapskate. There's a story that even goes, they were doing the press junket for, I forget, it might have been like Iron Man 2 or something. And they ran out of food at the press junket. Instead of ordering more, Perlmutter suggested just going to another studio's press junket and taking their food. Ike Perlmutter has gone to Marvel premieres, and he has worn a hat and sunglasses so people don't recognize him that he's there. Right. That's the whole point, is Perlmutter is he's a businessman, but he fundamentally didn't get it. And he wanted to be a cheap ass businessman. And you're going to listen to these guys most likely talk him up as a massive side of part of Marvel Studios' success. They're going to say that he was, I think even Midnight's Edge has tried to tacitly say that Ike Perlmutter is a big reason why Marvel Studios is where it is, and that ever since he got out of the way in 2015, that it's been on a perpetual down spiral since then. And that is, I mean, like, oh my God, 100% untrue. It's just, it is so disingenuous and dishonest. It kind of makes me sick. It's, I mean, to an extent, it's also very impressive that they can say this sort of thing with a straight face. But then again, as Silent just pointed out, they fully are aware of what they do, but they don't care because their audience knows that they won't do the research here. Although Cameron, again, is kind of the perfect fall guy, because when eventually it comes out that he's as full of shit as he is, they're all going to toss him to the curb and say that they were used by Cameron. And then, at the end of the day, Cameron is not going to probably lose anything because he might get a job or two or something, with his connections, but he's trying to build up his screenwriting teaching through his Patreon right now, which is why they keep pushing his Patreon the way that they do.
Article basically says, yeah, he basically ripped it out of Ike's hands and drove him out by, and for those of you that have not seen the previous videos or don't know the history, basically Feige was calling Perlmutter an ist and a phobe to Disney higher-ups like Bob Iger. And this
at a
is
time when that really was a dangerous threat.
Yes.
And when that was a politically dangerous threat.
This is how Feige got control.
So wait. Hold on. I've been following the Marvel Cinematic Universe since 2007 when I first saw it at Comic-Con, when I first learned about Iron Man and what was going to be coming in the summer of 2007. Well, I'd known about it, but when I first saw the trailer for it in the summer of 2007, I should say, I've never heard that they were running up to that they were running, that Kevin Feige was running up to Bob Iger, calling Perlmutter an istinophobe and doing that. Never mind the fact that all of the stories that have come out, all the reporting that's come out has been about how Ike Perlmutter did not want Captain Marvel, did not want Black Panther, and blocked those films from coming out. And eventually Kevin Feige had to go above him to Bob Iger and get Bob Iger to step in. And sure, maybe, hey, history is written by the victor. Fine, if that's how you want to play it. But again, I am not able to find anything, that really showcases that Feige has done that. Now, if that exists and I'm unaware of that, then I would love to know about it. But in the meantime, I've never heard that article, that story pop up, and I find that to be very interesting. Command Unit here for $5. Thanks, buddy. Says react to Battle of Cadia cinematic. I'll try if I can get to it, dude. I've already been on for almost 2 hours and I'm starting to run out of voice. So there's that, but we'll try to get to it. Thank you, man, I appreciate that. All right, let's keep going.
Autonomous control over Marvel by getting rid of Perlmutter back in 2015, and Baloney basically reconfirms this in this article. And how do we know that? Is that boom right here in the next paragraph, and this is where we'll leave it. And Cameron, I'm going to let you go. There is no film comparison for Marvel, but back in 2019, Matthew Baloney, asked Alan Horn.
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, that's it. And this goes to show you the kind of connections that Matthew Baloney has. Now, just to back up real quick for everybody who does not know, Alan Horn is retiring at the end of this year from a very storied and long career at the Walt Disney Company. He has been the chairman of the Walt Disney Studio Organization, which oversees, up until he himself at this point, Pixar, Walt Disney Animation, Lucasfilm, now Fox Studios, so on and so forth. That job, as you've heard the name before, we have discussed, is now going solely in the hands of Alan Bergman, who is the person who is now
Alan
Kathleen
Braverman,
Kennedy's boss, the person who is now Kevin Feige's boss, the boss of Pixar, the boss of Fox Studios, Fox Searchlight.
Also the person who announced the settlement with Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, he was. It was not Mr. Horn, and it was not Mr. Feige.
It was done with such.
Why would Feige announce the settlement to the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit. You know, if Alan Horn is on his way out, fine. Alan Braverman would definitely, like, you know, again, but they're Alan Bergman. Come on, man. You're trying to like play this like smug, I know my shit, and you don't know fucking anything. Like, get the name right. You know, I mean, I might mistake a name, but if I mistake a name and someone corrects me, I'm at least going to know it. You know, the Inhumans failure is entirely on Jeff Loeb. I think, here's the thing with that though. I think Perlmutter had a big part in that, because they took it away from Kevin Feige. So, you know, there's definitely, that craziness right there, but okay. I mean, like, these guys are like, they're trying so hard. You know, hold on. I'm going to Alan Braverman, Scarlett Johansson lawsuit. I'm just going to look this up real quick. I want to make sure I got it right. Okay. Well, let's see. All right. So I'm not seeing that one. Okay. So Hollywood Reporter on September 30th, 2021, reports here, Scarlett Johansson, Disney settle explosive Black Widow lawsuit. All right. So according to, oh no, it is Alan Bergman. I was wrong. Who's Alan Braverman then? I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'll fully admit that I got the name wrong. Now, Disney Studios chairman Alan Bergman added, I'm very pleased that we have been able to come to a mutual agreement with Scarlett Johansson regarding Black Widow. We appreciate her contributions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and look forward to working together on a number of upcoming projects, including Tower of Terror. So, I mean, again, the Disney Studios chairman is the one saying that. All right. Am I, hold on here. Alan, let me just make sure that I want to make sure I got, okay. So so I believe, right. There's Alan Braverman and there's Alan Bergman. So I got it confused. That is my mistake. And again, I will totally own up to that. I got a little bit ahead of my britches there. It happens. The thing is though, is that right now Alan Braverman is the senior executive vice president, secretary general counsel to the Walt Disney Company. Okay. So Alan Bergman is the one that's going to be in charge of all that. I just got the two confused. That is my mistake. And so obviously though, yes, he made a comment on that, as he should. That's the guy in charge. But again, they're trying to play it up here like Feige has something to, you know, that this should have been Feige's deal. He's a producer. He oversees films in one particular company. And yet they're like, why isn't he coming out and speaking on behalf of the whole organization? Considering the fact that, you know, Scarlett Johansson sued the Walt Disney Company, not Marvel Studios, over the disparity in pay from Black Widow.
That's wonderful graciousness, welcoming her back into the fold, but it was done by Mr. Bergman.
Yes, it was. Yes. Mr. Bergman is the boss of every Disney studio production outfit that exists. So, but this is where I'm like, so again, this gives what Mr. Baloney says, at least on the surface, unless he's straight up lying about ever talking to Alan Horn, it does give his articles and his reporting some gravitas.
You don't get in front of Alan Horn even as a trades reporter. No. You have to be very high level, such as this gentleman who was the top editor of the Hollywood Reporter, for someone of that level of power to give them your time. So this is, he's stating right here, I have access to the inner elites, the inner club of Hollywood. So you should take me seriously.
Is it also possible that they just could have been at an event together? You know, I mean, like, because again, it says here, back in 2019, I asked Alan Horn, but he doesn't say that it was through an interview. It could have just been at an event together. I don't know. They could have been like at a Marvel premiere for in Endgame, some kind of event for Endgame, or perhaps Aladdin, or perhaps what was the Pixar film in 2019? Was that Toy Story 4? Could have been Toy Story 4. Could have been a multitude of reasons why he was talking with Alan Horn. But again, the concept here, the idea here, that they are running back and forth, and this kind of cracks me up. But we see that Caden has returned. What's up, buddy?
I'm back.
That was a long 20 minutes.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's all good. It's all good. We're kind of running down the clock on this anyway. So I don't know if you've been listening, but now we're on Cameron Pasha talking this nonsense.
I see him.
Yes.
I just know that he's already been talking BS. So
yeah. Oh, let's keep going.
Yes. And the article continues on from there. And again, I encourage everybody to go check out Puck if you really want to follow what Cameron and I enjoy discussing. But I'm going to skip down to the end here. And talking about basically the superhero fatigue and what's going on.
Oh,
and this last paragraph is where we
hold on. The superhero fatigue. However, real quick, what I wanted to kind of get back to on this was again looking at the what the rest of the paragraph says here. Okay, so Baloney asks Alan Horn if Marvel movies will someday perform like American Idol, a dominant multi-night cultural juggernaut that simply runs its course, scales back, and becomes ordinary. The answer is no, Horn told me. If the film has a compelling storyline, if it has heart and humor, two things that I insist on, and it's terrifically well executed, I think there is an audience, but who knows? And the thing is, that was back in 2019. 2 years later, that hasn't changed. And Spider-Man No Way Home is a fundamental proof of that. You have any thoughts on that one, Caden?
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm like totally in coots right now. Or like klutz. What was he saying again? Like how like the MCU is going to turn into the American Idol?
Yeah, the idea there is that it's going to become like a dominant multi-night cultural juggernaut.
Oh.
And then that simply just kind of runs its course and then just goes away and becomes kind of ordinary, which is what it has done. I mean, it was really big, but
there has been, some times when, like, moments when, obviously after Endgame, everyone's like, oh, MCU's dead. And then, and then from like the very start of the DCEU, there's been always like concern for it and saying like, oh, it's never going to work. It's just them trying to catch up. So it's definitely one of those things where there's definitely going to be moments when people question these superhero universes, and it will turn into something where it will be fatigue, and it's going to be turned into something that shouldn't.
Well, the fatigue is going to come. Look, the fatigue only sets in when there's bad storytelling.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, and Benson here makes a great point. Says the superhero fatigue was rife this week. Oh, hang on. No, he's talking rubbish again. That's true. Hold on. Your volume's a little bit too low. I'm just gonna. Oh, well, if you can raise your volume mic a little bit. I know so much fatigue. $121 million opening day. I know, right? I mean, that's what we've been looking at, right? We've been looking at this.
Is this better?
I mean, it sounds fine to me, but I'll just. Yeah, I think you should be okay. 125 on you usually works. I usually raise your volume anyway when you come on. Because for me, I know I sound loud in my own headset, so I don't quite know.
Yeah. Things like the headphones or earbuds I wear, it sounds so weird. I can't hear myself sometimes.
I understand that. I mean, I got like Bose headphones on and this, Shure micro, and I spend money on my audio quality because my own voice gets me off. What can I say? Communion here asking if I've watched Major Grom, ETA. If not, I haven't yet. I just, what am I doing tomorrow? Tomorrow night, I don't know yet. I'm going to try. If I get done with this early, I might watch it in bits. So I might do an hour tonight when I'm done, and then I'll finish it up tomorrow. But I'll try. It's on my list of things to do this week. Benson here says the only fatigue of this genre is the Snyderverse fans who won't let it go. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily wrong on that entirely.
Wrong, but it's like.
But it's like, you know what? They're passionate, and I'm just going to kind of leave it at that for right now. But all right, let's jump ahead 20 seconds back to this. Apparently, this paragraph that proves Marvel fatigue is happening, guys.
Really want to kind of get into the discussion. Yeah. But diminishing returns, according to Mr. Baloney here at Puck, seems like an inescapable end game for Marvel, especially if quality control becomes an issue. And lower box office means there are fewer mega hits to mine for the spinoffs and merchandising.
Mm-hmm.
I'm adding that part. Matthew Baloney, I am not suggesting that Marvel is in trouble. Far from it. I agree. But if I were betting Marvel as a stock, I'd wonder if it hasn't hit its peak. That is exactly what we've been talking about.
And that
was just proven absolutely bullshit.
Yeah, with No Way Home and also, like, when they talk about, like, it goes back to our previous conversation about Shang-Chi and how recently we obviously learned that Shang-Chi, like, Daniel Cretton, who's the director of Shang-Chi, has a big deal with Disney and Marvel.
Yeah.
And with the Marvel thing, he has a sequel, a spin-off, and possibly other spin-offs as well, other Marvel TV stuff to go on Disney Plus. And he's starting to direct the American Monkey, the Monkey King, that comic graphic novel, into live action for Disney Plus. So, like,
Yeah, no, he's got a
they're
lot going
finding
on.
ways to input these creatives into other areas of Disney while also keeping them at Marvel to continue those spin-offs and sequels. So, like, Marvel isn't in trouble. The thing is that people need to stop worrying about is, when will Marvel give up? Because I don't think Marvel will ever give up. It's only a matter of time when the audience gives up.
Yeah. Well, I would argue, well, it's all about the audience. And, when you've got a Spider-Man movie that's,
Making a lot of
Spider-Man
money.
making a lot of cash, and again, Eternals and Shang-Chi maybe didn't earn as much as their counterparts, but they weren't like Gary has tried to argue that Shang-Chi lost money for the studio. Here's the
No,
thing
it
with
didn't.
that is the home video sales for Shang-Chi massive.
Yeah,
Massive home video sales. So, I mean, it did very well there. And that's, again, it's already on Disney Plus. It's been now for a month. And I would love to know the numbers of it there. A lot of people are now kind of discovering it who didn't discover it before. That's kind of the thing with streaming, is the people who, so you figure like the 116 million people that have Disney Plus accounts and their family and friends who might come over. That probably means a lot of people have seen Shang-Chi. And again, you're right with Daniel Destin Cretton working on that stuff. Never mind the popularity of WandaVision and all the other shows. I mean,
Right.
Loki especially,
And
Hawkeye's
like,
doing well.
Yeah, and you're about to have this longest episode of a Disney Plus Marvel show that might be like the biggest of like grounded for both.
Well, it's
I think Fantastic
59.
Four-
Yeah.
not Fantastic Four, Falcon and Soldier, and Hawkeye. Hawkeye's finale might be even bigger than the Falcon and Soldier show.
It's possible. Well, I think with the Kingpin and then also
Yeah.
that Spider-Man situation, which we won't talk
Right.
about, the thing people hadn't seen it yet. Obviously, what we're talking about here is Marvel is again, people find it that the Nielsen ratings. Again, they tried saying Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier were terrible. We talked about this the other day. We proved in real time that that the information was sourced from a Doomcock video.
Right.
And that was originally reported on Bounding Into Comics and then re-reported in Bounding Into Comics without ever linking back to its actual source. So we know that they're full of shit. We know that the Nielsen ratings for Falcon and Winter Soldier were actually very high.
Like
after
Lukas
that
says,
data came out.
globally, Shang-Chi has generated $363.4 million, the fourth highest haul of 2021 for a COVID reality. That's a great number.
Yeah.
That's also not including home sales and all the like merchandise and also I think right now also Marvel, well, Disney and Kevin Feige, I'm sure they're still worried about the box office, but they saw the impact, the cultural impact that Shang-Chi has, and that's why it was so important for them to see that,
Let's see. Archelon Premier says, for two guys that are supposedly so knowledgeable about the movie industry and Marvel Studios, it's amazing how so much of what they say got easily called out as lies by Matt. Look, man, it's like a lot of it is just kind of blatant disinformation for the sake of being misleading and trying to create and establish a narrative. I get things wrong. I mixed up Alan Braverman and Alan Bergman. That was my bad. That happens. But but at the end of the day, I still like to pay attention to what's going on. And it's not hard to see. It's not hard to cut through the bullshit, and that's where I think more people need to do it. I know Ty from Pop Culture Corner has started doing it with a series called, I think it's like Combating Hate.
Yeah.
Mad Max the Mandalorian. I don't even know if he's still watching. Probably not. It's probably gone to bed. But like he called out Nerdrotic earlier, which is how I saw it. and why I wanted to do the live stream calling it out. There's a lot there that's going on, but let's just Cameron's always fun to watch because I feel he's not like he's just like that like lovable idiot where like you're like, oh, what's Cameron gonna say next? You know, it's like it could be a sitcom, you know, like boo 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 boo, oh Cameron or whatever. I don't know.
He just poshed at that one.
You just posh at that. Yeah, that's a great. Turn it into a verb. But Benson makes a great point, actually, and this is what people, again, everyone has been not talking about in regards to this year with Phase 4, saying people need to remember that they are building a brand new story. As such, the feeder movies will generate less money. They will build to the Galactus climax. Their next $3 billion movie will be Stark's Return. I think they're building to like the Kang the Conqueror, and then Galactus is going to come down the road. But you're right. But you're right, Benson. Mark, you're absolutely correct on that. They are. This is starting over again. WandaVision laid the groundwork. It was the primer. And then they started building up and building up and building up because, hey, listen, we got Yelena Belova back in July for Black Widow, and now we got Yelena Belova again at the end of the year for fucking Falcon or for Hawkeye. And it was big. People loved her in the role, you know. And so
same with a certain cameo that's in No Way Home will end up being in something mid next year. So it's
you know what's funny too is I saw my time to shine, that guy, that scooper, talking shit about Mikey Sutton today, like calling out Geekosity Mag as being full of shit. I'm just like,
she's so funny thing with her, she's like, she said that she works for Marvel, and I was just like, huh, wouldn't Marvel find out who you are then? Like,
yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I mean, she's been writing on a few things.
She's fine. It's just like there's some things I'm just questionable about her. I'm just like,
well, again, in the pro, see, it all kind of boils together here, right? This is why I think people like Mikey Sutton are doing it well, is because Mikey gives it away for free. It's not behind a paywall. It's not, you know, I don't know if there's a Patreon or not, but there's like, you know, like it's not behind a paywall. He's done very well with the website for the year it's been up. You know, we're talking like between 1.5 and 2 million clicks a month for a website that's been up for a year. That ain't bad. That's pretty good. You know,
I do give it to Mikey. Like Mikey, and like I also like, I really respect Charles Murphy and Casey Walsh. Like,
yeah, they put the work in. Casey Walsh is definitely a passionate person.
He's tough.
That I don't always agree with, but like, no, they put into work, and it's like the problem though is even with Casey, like Charles keeps to himself, right? He's kind of a dick, but he keeps to himself. But Casey's part of that boys club with like Skylar Schuler and some other people and stuff.
There's definitely a boys club with that whole thing, and Lizzie Hill, who was working with Charles Murphy, and then she left and started Cosmic Circus, and she definitely, like, me and her have our own conversations. She definitely feels like that too. There's like,
well, club. You know what's funny is she had an article about Black Panther 2 that I've been sitting on for like fucking days.
Yeah,
I keep trying to get to it.
Me and Jack and Austin talked about it like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to get to it. It's just like there's been a lot going on.
It's such a good article. That's what I love, Lizzie.
It's the one. It's the what I heard about Black Panther 2.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah. It's a good article. I mean, I have it up right here, but it's that's not the focus of tonight. So let's keep going with this madness because it's madness.
Again, the very specific phrasing, because Mr. Baloney has a style where he asks you questions to make you come to his conclusion, and then he states things. He covers himself by stating, "I'm not stating this, but I am saying that." It's like the meme that we see on Twitter. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens, right? And now you've got the idea of aliens in your head, right? I'm a big fan of Ancient Aliens, so I love that meme. But
that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
He's like this whole interdimensional creatures and stuff.
Yeah.
After that stream is like in my head. Like,
dude, he's literally that meme for the Fandom Menace, though. He's like, I'm not saying it's Feige, but it's Feige.
Like, I'm not saying it is, but it is.
Oh God, it's terrible. But it's like
that's what's happening here is that he is using very well-crafted diplomatic language to make his point so that he is not accused of coming at this with an agenda or with some kind of aggressive anti-Kevin Feige stance. He's saying, look,
but okay. So if you look at the idea of Puck News got a $7 million like it got funded for $7 million through a venture capitalist in order to be able.
Justin Kroll today quote tweeted Puck. Well, Matthew actually.
Yeah, well, the whole point though is, for one, Matthew has got his connections, but he doesn't only write about Hollywood. He does write about politics as well, and they're not trying. This isn't like, oh, we're not trying to like go after Feige. They don't care. They don't care. Their whole point is effectively like, it is a bit muckraking. This website is kind of designed to be a bit of a muckraker.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be sensationalistic. It's meant to be kind of like, no, we're not, there's no, what's the company that own, is it Penske Media that has a Hollywood Reporter and fucking Deadline? Or am I thinking Variety and Deadline?
I think it's
I think it's Hollywood Reporter.
I think it's Hollywood. It's Hollywood.
Who owns Hollywood? Let me Google that real quick. Who owns Hollywood Reporter? Let's see here. The Hollywood Reporter. Who is it owned by? It is
Deadline is Penske.
Penske, yeah. Okay, so I think Hollywood Reporter is its own. Its own thing. Oh no! They're owned by Media Rights Capital and Penske Media Corporation.
Variety and Deadline.
Yeah. So again, it's like that's the reason why Baloney left the Hollywood Reporter. Had everything. It was about, he didn't approve of where the corporate kind of structured, like the corporate entertainment media was going. And he wanted to be able to speak his mind, and he wanted to be able to go off and be in, kind of like in a Substack kind of situation,
Right.
and that's what he's doing. So again, it's not like he doesn't care about he doesn't mind ruffling some feathers. He maybe won't even pull his punches, but he is letting you know what he thinks is going on. He's also positing a couple questions here. And the thing is, when it comes to Marvel fatigue and everything else, he's basically saying like, it's not going to happen anytime soon. And those guys are willfully misinterpreting things that he said. They didn't even look at Alan Horn's response to the question that Baloney had posited, and never gave it any kind of actual critical thought, because they were just looking to cherry pick whatever argument they could get their hands on. And to me, it's always hilarious here. Complete my idea what I screw up on.
But I was going back to McLeod, saying something about aliens.
All right. Of course he's a fan. He's probably a fucking alien himself. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. He maybe himself is an interdimensional being.
Are you an interdimensional alien? No, I'm Cameron Pasha. Same thing. Sure. Yeah. Pull off the mask. All right, let's keep going.
It's all great, all good. Marvel's doing good. But let me ask a few questions here. And those questions are what it's all about.
Yeah, and he is in a position, obviously, Cameron, that he can speculate even more intelligently in terms of the facts than we can. And so we have articles like this. This is what we do here, is to look at stuff like this and then kind of try to read between the lines and figure out what is going on. And this is something that, again, I've been very curious with. We have not seen, and this is from a factual perspective. This part is not speculation. We have seen from a factual perspective that this year alone, that the Walt Disney Company, Disney Plus in particular, has not had the kind of growth acceleration that analysts expected. That being said, I do understand what Mr. Chapek is saying at his last, SEC filing on the quarterly call, talking about that. Hey, look, the growth is not going to be a linear fashion. We don't expect to go from 100 to 250 million in 4 years in terms of subscribers, with an equal amount of new subscribers every quarter. He's 100% correct on that one. That just wouldn't happen, right? So. I get that point. However, what we have seen this year is that the launch of 4 actually new MCU properties on Disney Plus has really not drawn in a significant number of new subscribers. You can't really include new subscribers that have come in from new markets, right? In the last month, Disney Plus has opened up in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in South Korea. Great markets, But you can't say, oh, look, we dropped Hawkeye on there and we got 20 million new subs. It's like, well, no, you got 20 million new subs because you.
The thing is, okay, so like, it's not even about like really building the sub count right now. It's about maintaining the sub count.
Yeah, and another thing is like also, like I remember when Variety did that report on that poll that someone else did about like the percent, like they took like, what was it like, I believe 10,000 subscribers from Disney Plus, and asked them what was the reason why they're there. And it was like, is it because of Marvel? Is it because of Star Wars? Is it original content? And I think it was like roughly 70% said it was because of Marvel, and like 20% was like Marvel, and maybe I watched it because of Marvel and some of the stuff, and then like another 10% was like Marvel. What's that? You know?
Yeah. No. Well, no. The thing is, it like when it comes to, you know, like what makes the most money for Disney right now, especially, you know, is Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, and it is. But the thing is, though, even merchandising, Star Wars is still selling a lot of merch. I went to fucking Costco yesterday, and they had like, you know, they have like the toys there are like all Baby Yoda. We haven't seen Baby Yoda now in a year. In a fucking year, we haven't seen Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And yet the toys are still selling. You know,
Yeah.
the kids are still buying the shirts. I mean, you're still seeing like, you know, the Spider-Man stuff. We're going to see a lot of Spider-Man merch move. And that is all Disney profitability right now. That's kind of the whole point, is like trying to argue this fatigue factor. You know, in a year where we're you know, we've been in full pandemic now for the whole year, and they've seen a lot of content come out, but they also took all of 2020 off. And when you have a sustained momentum from 2010 to 2019, where you had consistent content literally every single year, the only year it missed out on something was in 2009, when they had nothing come out in 2009. Never mind the 2 films in 2008. But since then, it's been consistent. And then you have a gap year because of the pandemic and because they're trying to figure it all out. And then they start launching it. Well, you know what? Their shows have consistently proven to be top of the leaderboards in regards to Nielsen ratings. I believe WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Loki at one point were all the most popular shows in the fucking world.
Yeah, I also remember when even when Loki was out, like people, like there was a report saying like, oh, like, you know, like you were saying, like WandaVision was still like pretty popular, you know, people were still watching it, and also because it was opening to new markets during that time, and how many people were watching that then, and looking back, like you had WandaVision, Falcon Soldier, and Loki, and then What If came, you know, it was like that kind of like that break where it's like, did you really need to watch What If all at once? Yes, you did, but you don't need to watch it like how it's played out right now.
Yeah. What if was one that I feel it kind of slowed the roll a little bit, but
Yeah,
and I
gave us
feel
a nice break between.
yeah,
Loki
and then
and
Hawkeye has been kind of a bit of a slow build on it as well. You know,
Right.
I think again, because Hawkeye is not traditionally one of the more popular. If it would have been like an Iron Man show or Captain America or Thor or hell even Hulk, it probably would have done better.
That's why I think She-Hulk is gonna kill it, because it's going to introduce so many Hulk characters. It's also going to introduce the funny side. Like, even though we've seen the funny side before, but this is the more comedic, the fourth wall breaking side of.
Yeah.
So it's like that one. I think Moon Knight and She-Hulk will be their 2 starters of next year. It's really gonna you're gonna test the waters of brutality and violence with Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And they're also introducing like the world of Hulk, you know?
Yeah, that will be interesting when that happens. Benson here, who sells toys, by the way, so he does have an inside track, says Star Wars toys are not selling well apart from Grogu figures. It's only the few spending $50 on Filoni figures. The Trapper Wolf figure came out, so you can get your hands on Dave Filoni as an action figure, which would be cool. To see that. McLeod asking, bro, have you mofo seen that Lego AT-AT? I have not. You know,
I mean, like I was recent at Barnes and Noble before I went to see No Way Home, and I saw these Star Wars and Marvel Lego sets that they have there. They have so many Star Wars Lego sets. Like,
I wonder how
so
those are selling. I haven't fucked with Legos in years, so I don't even remember.
Like, like they have like half an aisle of just Legos, and they have like, and half of that is, or like, I would say a quarter of that is original Legos, and then a half of it is Star Wars, and half of those Star Wars were gone.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's good to know that Star Wars Legos that doesn't really have to do with Mandalorian is doing well. But there was like, it was also
and that's the thing too. Like when I go to the store and I look in the toy aisle, I pretty much go look for Star Wars stuff. I'll just go and like walk through it. Because what I want like Mandalorian action figures is what I want. Right. And because that's what I have a connection to, like more than anything else, is Star Wars right now. And they're all gone. Like, everything is gone. Like, I mean, literally, like everything Star Wars related is sold out. But I also live in a low volume area, so that's probably one of the reasons that I have to like drive towards Seattle if I wanted to get something a bit more high volume. But really, a lot of it is just it's like there's still people buying this stuff, and they know that, and they know that in regards to everything. As these shows go on, those merch and those stores are gonna, sell. Just again, like wait for Loki and Sylvie to pop up, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yeah,
right. Wait for that to kind of break things right there.
And I think also with Doctor Strange too, there's gonna be a lot of, as we see, the toys with Brian Oth as obviously we already had them announced to be in the movie, but people forgot. But then when we saw the figure for him, everyone started talking about, hit the like on Twitter, like, oh my God, Ryan Oth is in this movie. I'm like, yeah, it was announced all the way in March. Like, it was like announced that who that he's going to be in this movie and he was playing it. And then we also had people like, that's another thing. Like with the whole thing, it was like funny how like they had Despair and Sleepwalker there, and I'm like, Despair and Sleepwalker are not Inductions 2; those are the comic legends. And like they were still theorizing, oh my God, is Despair and Sleepwalker in this movie? So
I don't know who those guys are, to be honest with you.
Despair is like the black and white figure with the cloak.
Still don't know who that is.
He's like some villain.
Okay.
And Sleepwalker has like it's basically like he's this character who's this dude who sleeps, and like this alternate personality comes out when he's asleep. So that's why his name's Sleepwalker.
Oh, okay. That's kind of well. I mean, I kind of feel like that's a bit of a B tier character, or C tier or D tier.
And he's
something
apparently
like that.
getting his own movie, so.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I think it's I mean, look, they're going to do a lot. Is really what it boils down to. And they're going to verify or
you can actually see some Charles Xavier toys. That's another thing. Like people are going to see these variants toys, in stores when Doctor 2 comes out. That's another thing. Like merchandise for these upcoming movies are gonna be and shows are gonna be crazy.
Well, that's that's kind of the whole thing. Is like as the economy starts to come back, hopefully, I know Benson had said in the chat there about hopefully like not hopefully, but there might be another lockdown in January because of Omicron. I mean. It all depends on how many people get vaxxed over the holidays.
Like sent their whole cast home.
Well, yeah, I think part of that too is like with Colin Jost, he's got a newborn baby at home, so I understand that.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the other cast does have kids and everything else, and so it is their last show of the year, which sucks because my favorite SNL weekend updates are like either the last show of the year or the last show of the season, where Colin and Michael make each other read jokes the other one hasn't.
And Tina Fey.
Okay, did they do it tonight?
I did not watch.
All right, well, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna definitely watch it tomorrow because I mean, Weekend Update is what I always watch. Even if I don't watch the skits, I'll watch Weekend Update.
Yeah.
But all right, let's do like a minute or two of this thing just to kind of see what craziness there is, and then we can kind of wind it down a bit. It's already 1 a.m. here.
You just turned on the service.
Yeah,
in a new country.
You've opened up. It's Nixon going to China, right? You've opened up the world, right? And
exactly.
So you now have a new thing to deal with. But now, what is driving people to watch this, or what is not driving them to watch this? And that's really the question here. The fact that we've had multiple shows and there seems to be decreasing viewership of those shows, especially with Hawkeye, which I've heard is a perfectly decent show. People seem to like Hawkeye. But at the end of the day, 40% drop in viewership from Loki is not a good sign. So,
and we've already talked about that, Caden, how that's a very bullshit narrative.
Yeah.
So, because like it's just, again, Loki has had all of that attention for all of those years, and Hawkeye really hasn't. But Loki still had the highest, the highest watch premiere, and Hawkeye dropping 40% is, it's still not terrible. It's just
not
like
terrible. It's not terrible. It just shows you like again like how the popular characters obviously are going to get a higher rating.
And now that there's a connection, there's connections, I should say. I don't want to say to what yet. But there's this other thing, two other things. There's connections to two other things. I think that's going to really look. I'm telling you right now. I think people are going to come off of Spider-Man: No Way Home, and they're going to binge watch Hawkeye this week. And when the finale drops in just a couple nights, that's going to be something pretty major. And I think a lot of people are gonna get into it. I don't know about you, man. I'm just kind of like my brain is fried from the three very chuddy things we had to dismantle tonight, man. I saw that we just hit 50 likes. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We got about 90 people watching. If you guys do want to smack on that like, that does help out the channel. If you do want to subscribe, if you're new here, that does help out the channel. If you like this kind of commentary, I'll probably do it like, maybe once, twice a week or something like that. Find a video. People send me stuff all the time of a lot of dumb shit being taken.
Is, like, we've been talking about Doomcock and Karen Pasha. To be honest, I also want to see what Mike Zero's up to right now.
Oh, I don't want to, man. Like that's like I only have so much.
How funny his things are right now.
Well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing with fucking Mike Zero. The dude is like Teflon Don. Like really is.
Oh, okay.
That guy's like Teflon Don, where it doesn't matter. It just simply doesn't matter with him. Like period. He just says literally like whatever the fuck he wants. And I'm not even like, look, I'll bring up his goddamn channel. You know what I mean? Like, let me just find a way to bring it up here. Hold on.
Mike has zero credibility. That's why I say Mike Zero.
There, yes. Oh, near. All right. While I do that, let me look at this one from okay. Community here says for $5. Thanks, man. It says reminder, take your 40K pill. I'm looking it up right now. Major Grom is still my favorite movie of the year after watching Spider-Man. Nice. You've been really, really, really loving that. McLeod, I can't see the link from here, man. If you know what, like you gotta DM it to me on Twitter or something like that. But then Benson here says, do you think the success of No Way Home will encourage Warner Brothers to make changes to the Flash movie? Will it give them the confidence to finally dump the Snyderverse and confirm to the fans it's done? It actually could have the exact opposite effect of that. Without going into spoilers, because I just simply, I don't want to fucking, say anything. People haven't seen the movie yet, but I kind of feel like what it really boils down to is it could have the opposite effect of that, where the nostalgia bait. And by the way, the nostalgia bait that's in No Way Home, it absolutely works. It's done well.
And you can see, if I say what I'm just gonna say, it's a spoiler. But yeah.
So I feel
also with I think with No Way Home, people were saying, oh, fan service and nostalgia, it's gonna make the movie bad. I think with the story, it has to have a good story. And if it's a good story, you can throw out the fan service and nostalgia because you have a good story. That people like.
Yeah, exactly. So this is Mike Zero's page. And we can see here that like, look, he's got 286,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Hey, good for him. And then 15 hours ago, Jon Favreau admits the terrible truth. This is insanity. And new leaks are here. Parentheses, Star Wars Explained, because he's clearly trying to rip off Star Wars Explained crowd. 3,200 views. He did another one.
Star Wars leak.
Gina Carano just changed everything for Star Wars. Now this is unexpected. I don't even want to look at that. But again, 10,000 views on that one. But his views really aren't getting a lot of play. I mean, considering the amount of subs that he's got and looking at the views. Let me see what his stats are here according to vidIQ. All right, so over the course of the last month, he's gotten 893,601 views. So he's got under 1 million. You know, when I used to do the Mundane Matt channel, I used to pull in 1.5 to 2.5 million views a month, doing 3 videos a day, and that's what I'd pull in a month. And he's literally got like way more subs than I ever did, and that's the whole point, though, is like everything he puts out. It's because he puts out so much shit.
Yeah,
he's put out 51 videos
in the last month.
51 videos in the last month, and you know, not even 1 million views.
Right.
So, you know, what the hell, does Jarbo ever touch himself? All the time. Like, what are you talking about?
I hug myself.
Sure, that's what I mean. Wink.
Yeah.
I'm cheeky. Anyway, no, I mean, but that's kind of that's the whole thing. It's like, you know, well, okay, Shifty here says he's no longer popping in the algorithm like he once did. Well, that's true. But again, as soon as there's a new Star Wars, I mean, you know, but if you look at this here, he's not talking about the Book of Boba Fett. If he was rocking the Book of Boba Fett, he would be much higher in the algorithm. But instead, it's like this year, Hayden Christensen is angry with Lucasfilm. The truth unravels in new details. Like, okay, Star Wars episode 10, 11, and 12 leaks will shock fans. This just got better. It doesn't make any sense. Daisy Ridley reveals awful truth about Jon Favreau. This is the worst. What?
What?
I mean, this is just fucking clickbait. Jon Favreau responds to Gina Carano's return and shocking leaks surface. Like, I mean, it is so utterly sad at this point. What, you know, and the thing is, Mike Zero has always been like this. This is not, you know, this is not change. This is nothing new. This is exactly what we expected. And it's just, to me, it's really fucking funny.
H-Word says, why does he talk? What is the Phantom Menace have like an obsession with Brie Larson? Like that's
couple reasons. She is, you know, she is divisive. That's a factor.
That
is
true.
People like her, people don't like her. I'm kind of in between. I think she's a fine enough actress, but I think Captain Marvel as a movie was boring. And it wasn't boring. I mean, I don't want to use the term boring. It was uneventful. Like literally the most uneventful Marvel movie that they've made.
Yeah.
And I don't think it deserved the $1 billion that it got, but hey, listen, success is success. And, you know, and so but again, what it was is like people were defending Brie Larson to them, which then only increased their view count and increased the spotlight on them and their notoriety in some ways. And really, Brie Larson was algorithmic gold. They'll all admit to this. That's the other part of it too. They'll literally all admit that they used her for clicks, that they absolutely did that. And they don't care. They don't care that they completely, went after her simply because she has the audacity to exist. And they're entirely okay with that, with that action. And so,
right.
Yeah.
And she has that whole speech about how certain films aren't made for certain people now and how.
And look, I'll admit, and back in the day, like I covered that, and I said she brought social justice to the MCU, and I was, because again, back in the day, I was kind of doing the same thing, like I get it. It's just like, but again, sometimes you got to wake up and smell the roses.
Go and smell the roses.
Yeah, or we got to wake up and I don't know. I'm so fucking tired. Simon here for $5 says, I don't want anybody else. But when I think about Jarbo, I touch myself. A 90s classic. Oh yeah. Do you want to sing that? Because you could sing that. That's okay. Don't ASMR it. You know, like I don't anybody else. But when I think about Carbo, I touch myself. Basically, at this point, yeah, we've saggy is just cream of the jeans.
She's in our brains now.
Yeah, what is it like? I don't want anybody else. When I think about Jarbo, I touch myself. Oh. I mean, I don't think about me when I touch myself. I think about some other people. But hey, listen. This is I'm gonna give you the most motivating thing you'll ever hear in your entire life. Okay. And I want each and every one of you listening to this to listen to what I have to say and keep it close to your chest. If you're ever having a sad moment in life, I want you to think back to this moment and smile because you are somebody's reason to masturbate.
I now have that thought in my head. Right. Oh my god.
There we go. Let's check out this Battle for Cadia cinematic. It's time for the Warhammer portion of the stream. And 2 minutes long. Let's check out the cinematic here.
Sven Bloodhowl, stalwart of a brotherhood famed for their courage. But sometimes courage is not enough.
Initialization failed. Null array inert. Insufficient power. Insufficient power. Rerouting. Reroute failed.
That's a weird looking dude.
Power surge. Processing.
Very
No
looking.
data. Power building.
The first thing I thought about was
Null
Star
array
Wars.
deploying.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then, like, when I saw the ship, I thought about the Illuminati.
Thus did Cadia earn respite, not through the bravery of Sven Bloodhowl, nor the labors of Magus clan, but through the intercession of a mysterious benefactor. But the respite was short-lived. As the cheers faded, traitor warships blackened the skies.
That's cool.
The siege of Cadia Secundus had begun. The forces of the despoiler came in numbers uncounted, but the walls
Hey, look, it's
of Castle
Mephisto.
Graf held. Even
Oh
in
my
that
God.
darkest of days, the flame of
Mephisto,
humanity's valor
Mephisto's
burned
army.
bright. With faith burning in their hearts, the
That-
defenders held the Chaos Hordes at bay, uncaring of the losses they bore in exchange. But flesh fails and faith flickers. With every bloody moment, Abaddon's forces drew closer to victory.
All right. Warhammer.
Wow.
So that was cool.
That was. At the same time, I felt like there was something missing.
Shifty gets mercy. I don't think so about what I had said. That's no, Shifty.
No. There
No,
was some.
that you are somebody's reason to masturbate. All right. Don't you forget it.
Don't you
I mean,
forget that.
don't you forget it. Even if I have to masturbate to you, just to prove to you that you have value. I will do it reluctantly, but that's how much I believe in you. That's how much I believe in you.
Oh my.
Anyway, McLeod, I saw that you sent me the video. The video is unavailable, so I can't check it out. But yes, we are 40K pilled command unit. Thank you. But
I'm deaf.
I
Would
don't
you
know
be
what
deaf?
I don't know what H Bart's is. He's deaf. He's Defoe.
Oh.
He's Defoe. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But
I'm
all
Defoe, so
right,
people like
gang.
me.
I think it's time for me to go to bed. It's almost 1:30 in the morning here. It's late, and this has been
It's 1:30.
yeah, it is late. We're both on the West Coast.
Yeah.
That's so I do appreciate everybody tuning in and laughing with us as we broke through a lot of bullshit tonight. I feel if people find this, they might get some ideas about how crazy and stupid
It's
certain
funny how,
people
like,
are.
last night, I blame Ignacio William for this. That I was almost becoming the Joker because of people. Like, I was having my laugh attacks again. They came back out of nowhere. And then today, I had brain cells be killed. So it's like, am I really becoming the Joker now? Like, goddamn. Like,
That can happen.
yes, that can happen.
I don't really know what you just said, so I'm just gonna smile and nod.
Smile and nod, just smile and nod.
Smile and nod, man.
Yep. I
But
know
anyway,
exactly what Caden just said.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, no, I'm sure you guys had a long stream last night. It
was like
something.
6 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was. I don't even know what it was.
It was half. It was supposed. So we did like 30 to 40 minutes of non-spoilers, and then like 4.5 hours of spoilers, and just so we started talking about some random stuff for the last hour.
No, that's kind of how these things tend to work out. To be honest with you.
Yes.
I've noticed that
Especially
as well.
when you're talking about a movie that just came out.
Yeah. I mean, no, and that's the thing is like I've even done like 5 hours of whatever you want to call it, right? Like shit. Like I've done like already about 5-6 hours of Spider-Man discussion in the last couple of days. Because it's just I did my 2-hour stream, like you and I were on it. Then last night I streamed and Caden came, not Caden, you're Caden, but Dane came on.
Yeah, I saw Dane. I was like, oh, nice. Dane's
and then for the last hour and some change, we talked about Spider-Man last night. And then I talked about it on like Max's stream a little bit. And I've talked with other people that I know, and I'm just like, fuck.
I mean, I'm not Spider-Man to help because I want to see the movie again. So I would like to talk a lot.
Oh yeah,
the thing was, it was the reason why I was like becoming the Joker and like laughing like crazy was because we were asking ourselves like the ramifications of the certain thing that happens at the end. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we can't talk about that just yet.
Not
yet. But all right, guys. So yeah, thank you all again so much for coming on by. Fun stream. I see Luke here says, I thought this was great. It's one of my first streams, but I love videos exposing chuds. It's just fun. Yeah, I like doing it too. I don't do it all the time, but you know what though? If we don't say anything, then they win, and I'm not gonna let that happen.
53 seconds.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna check that out. We'll check it out tomorrow. I just saw it, but I want to go to bed. So thank you all, everybody. We'll talk to you later, and peace out.